What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto hates Kushina and Minato and he runs away from Konoha? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Wave Country Bridge. A battle was getting on in the huge wooden bridge. The bridge itself was covered by a heavy mist clouding most of its surroundings and blocking most of the vision of its occupants, namely ninjas that was doing all the fighting. Well, most of them, since some were guarding the builder of said bridge. Right about now you can hear steel clashing with steel and sparks fly as they met. The ones who were guarding the builder of the bridge looked on as many feet away from them. Their senseis were fighting for their lives and their own. Kakashi Hatake, Asuma Sarutobi, Kurenai Yuhi, Yugo Izuki, Mage, and Anko Mitarashi were fighting not one, not two, but three members of the strongest generation of the seven swordsmen of Mist. Zabuza Momochi, Kushimaru Kurarare, and Amayuri Ringo. The Konoha nins had the numbers advantage, but the problem was that the three had the advantage with the mist surrounding them. All three of them were masters of the silent killing technique and they don't even need to see to kill their targets. Shit. At this rate we'll lose, as seeing as they're forcing us to waste energy in finding one of them, and as soon as we got our guard down we die, was the thought of one Asuma Sarutobi as he had his trench knives mixed with wind chakra. He was back to back with Mage as they had to use their senses and instinct to battle their way out of this. Kakashi was a few feet away from them along with Kurenai, Anko, and Yugo. A bit far away from their position, we could see a big dome made entirely of ice. Inside the dome there were 5 teenagers inside. One was a girl with long brown hair reaching the end of her back. She wore a white kimono top exposing some cleavage of her D-cup, brown pants, and a gray apron wrapped around her waist, and black ninja sandals. What made her stand out was her white eyes from her clan. She was Nejiko Hyuga, Femme Neji. I know, first time I tried this. She wore her forehead protector on her forehead to hide her seal. Another occupant was another girl. She had long red hair like Nejiko that reached her back's end, violet eyes, whisker marks on cheek, with a golden hair clip above her forehead. She wore a high-collar orange jacket that ended above her stomach, exposing her lean and healthy midsection, and below the arms of the jacket and the side were blue. She wore tight black shorts up to a quarter of her thighs. Below the right side of the shorts were bandage tap wrapped around to hold her weapon holster. Over the shorts was a white belt with a silver belt buckle. She wore black socks reaching her mid-thigh and black shinobi sandals. Her name was Narumi Uzumaki Namikaze. What her clothes look like is in my profile. She had her forehead protector wrapped in her left thigh. The third one was another girl. She wore an orange zip-up sleeveless top with a high collar. She had a dark brown sash on her waist, blue pants with blue tips. On her left arm, she had a blue elbow warmer, and she wore black ninja sandals. She had long blonde hair and blue eyes with the same whisker marks on her cheek. Her name was Naruko Uzumaki Namikaze, fraternal twin of Narumi. Again, for clothes as in my profile. She had her forehead protector on her right bicep. The fourth member was a boy who had brown spiky wild hair, brown eyes, and red fang tattoos on his cheeks. He wore a gray long-sleeve shirt and pants, and black ninja sandals. He was Kiba Inuzuka and his forehead protector was on his forehead. The last member was a boy with a black chicken-ass hairstyle, black eyes, and pale skin. He wore a black shirt with a fan on the back, and white shorts with blue ninja sandals. He was Uchiha Sasuke. Right now, all 5 of them were being turned to pincushions. Each of them was being covered in senbon needles, but none of them were lethal. But that didn't mean it didn't hurt. Sasuke was the one having the most needles on his person next to Kiba, with the girls having the least since they were very flexible and agile. "Give up, you can't hope to defeat us both while you are trapped in our domain," came the voice of a young girl appearing in one of the ice mirrors making the dome. She wore a Mist Hunter nin mask. She had a blue kimono top and wore brown hakama pants with her hair in a bun. "She is right. Give up now or die," another voice came in. And based on the sound it was a girl. She was identical to the other one, only her kimono top was dark violet and her hair was in a ponytail. Nejiko cursed under her breath. She can't use her Kaden here for she could harm the others within her range. Narumi and Naruko were trying to find a way out but came with nothing. The ice walls were reinforced with chakra. Fire attacks did jack squat and the two were just so fast. Kiba and Sasuke, well, they weren't really planning. Kiba just kept using Gatsuga over and over again only to stop after being hit by a barrage of needles. And the same with Sasuke after he kept using fireballs. Hey, I'm an Uchiha. I don't need them to beat you too. And when I'm done with you, I'll have you both carry my children for my clan, he said with an evil smile to which each girl had a disgusted look, even Nezuko. Uchiha pig, it's good your clan has been wiped out. Fate has decreed your kind unworthy to be alive, she thought. The two girls in the ice were about to throw up. Maybe we can make an exception to that no-kill policy we had, both girls thought at the same time. After thinking about it, they just decided to humiliate him, sending a barrage of needles at him and Kiba, whose face showed the same with Sasuke, so knowing what he was thinking, shot him too. Both were knocked out with a huge thud and now resembled porcupines. Now the trash is taken care of. Let's continue, the violet one said before throwing more needles at the girls who evaded most but still got hit. We have to finish this now or we're both dead. I won't die until I fulfill my promise to our family, the twins thought. Outside the dome, the team members that were left was defending the bridge builder. All of Team 8, 10 and 11, Lee, Tenten, Yakumo, Sai, and Sakura were surrounding Tazuna the bridge builder. Read HSOCCH.5 from my profile to know the teams. Okay, well, almost all of them, while Sakura was front and center cheering like a fangirl, putting attention not only to herself but to Tazuna's own location at the same time. Pretty smart, sarcasm. She didn't even bring weapons with her, and Satsuki, same as HSOC, had to bring her back to the circle by her neck. Would you shut up, you useless piece of shit? You're giving the enemy our location, you dumbass, she hissed a warning to her, making her shut up, but it may already be too late. Hinata and Shino sensed a chakra signature from behind them. They turned to see the form of one Kushimaru about to impale Tazuna. Easy money, he said, bringing sewing needle for the kill only to hit a wind blade from one Asuma Sarutobi. Asuma-sensei? How do you know they'll strike here? Ino asked from her position. Oh, just Sakura screaming out that gave away where you guys were, he said with a lot of sarcasm as he was in a deadlock against Kushimaru. The others glared at Sakura and she hung her head in shame. Asuma finally pushed back Kushimaru to the mist where he disappeared. Asuma soon tried to follow him. Sakura, I think it is wise for you to shut up as that mouth of yours is going to get us all killed, came the cold voice of one Hinata Hyuga. Cold Hina, my first attempt. Indeed, you screaming out our location is illogical and unproductive, Shino's drone-like voice called out. Sakura looked mad at this and was about to yell if not for a huge explosion was heard. Back to the dome, Nezuko looked dizzy for a while with the twins down with some burn marks. The two they fought were also slightly burned due to the ice protecting them and absorbed most of the force of the explosion. That is the last time I will ever listen to you two, Nezuko said as she got up and dusted herself. Hey, it worked, didn't it? Naruto chuckled a bit as the burns were healing. Narumi just bonked her sister in the head. What were you thinking? We could have been killed, she shouted at her. A bit away were Kiba's and Sasuke's body being blown away, still unconscious. How did they get out? Well, a combination of Kaden plus one fire jutsu and an explosion tag did its magic. Nezuko and the twins soon turned their attention back to their opponents and saw they were less injured than they were. That was either smart or stupid considering how you executed your plan, the blue one said as her mask was cracking and soon fell, showing the face of an angelic-looking girl with hazel eyes. The girl next to her also had her mask removed and had the same face. Twins, Nezuko thought. The other twins, however, were shocked. Haku? Saya? Narumi and Naruto whispered, but Nezuko caught it. You know them? She asked the twins. Yes, we do. But why? Why are you fighting for them? Naruto said as she then pointed at the two. Remember what we told you. We will do everything for our precious person, Haku said as she and Saya stood up. Flashback 3 days ago. Naruto and Narumi were both asleep on two different trees. Last night, they both sparred to see how long they have already reached. The two fought with all they were taught by their parents. Somehow they fell asleep on the forest the whole night. By the next morning, the two were found by two girls, Haku and Saya. Hey, wake up! Wake up! Both girls found themselves awakened by the two. You two shouldn't be sleeping here in the open woods. You might catch a cold, Saya said in a sincere tone. Naruko scratched her eyes before yawning. Oh, don't worry, we rarely ever get sick. Narumi then rubbed the sleep of her eyes and focused on the two. They seemed to be sisters and maybe even twins since there was hardly any difference from each other. Both wore kimonos with one pink and the other violet. Both girls were beautiful and many others would envy them while boys can't stop staring at them. Oh really? Well, that's good. We were just picking up some herbs to help heal our friends, Haku said as she showed them her herbs. Yeah, we don't want to see the people we cherish getting hurt. Do you both have precious people? Saya said as she stood up. Naruko and Narumi thought of everyone who was precious to them. Their friends, families. That word stung their hearts. A sad smile appeared on both their faces. Yeah, we have a lot of people that we cherish, but there was one who we pushed away, Narumi said as her eyes tried to pull back the tears. Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't know, Haku said, trying to cheer them up. No, it's okay. We promised to bring him back to our family and help him feel at home rather than pushing him away again, Naruko said as she smiled with determination in her eyes. That's good. You will never be truly strong if you don't have someone precious to protect, Haku said. And we will do everything for our precious people, Saya finished for her. We have what we came for. By the way, my name is Haku and this is my twin sister Saya. She introduced herself and her sister who bowed after hearing her name. My name is Narumi, and this is my fraternal twin Naruko. It was nice knowing you girls. I hope we meet again. With that, both went their separate ways, not noticing the sad looks on Haku and Saya. End of flashback. Now Haku and Saya were sadly facing against them. Zabuza, Kushimaru, and Amayuri-sama all have saved us from the purge and mist. We owe our lives to them, Saya said as she had more needles in hand, the same with Haku. But before they could again attack, they noticed that the mist was thinning. They looked back and saw Zabuza, Amayuri, and Kushimaru trapped by multiple ninja dogs, some big, medium and small. Then they saw Kakashi with lightning in his hand, Asuma with his trench knives charged with wind chakra, and Yugo preparing her blade. We'll ask nicely one last time. Surrender, Kakashi said as he had his Sharingan active and stared down at all three of them. Never, Zabuza defiantly answered. Alright then, this is not personal, just business. He, Asuma, and Yugo were going for the killing blow with the other Jonins watching, making sure nothing was going to interrupt it. But alas, they saw Haku and Saya running at full speed to block their attacks, but before anyone could react, a huge wave of water suddenly crashed down towards them. Kakashi quickly disabled his Chidori before anyone could get shocked due to knowing everyone will get soaked and electrocuted. Even the Genins weren't safe and they were at least 20 feet away guarding. The nin dogs dispelled, letting their captors go. As the water finally stopped and soaked everyone including the client and the Genins, a figure appeared between them. God damn it. I felt a lot chakra in here hoping to have a good fight, but it turns out I'm already late for the party. You guys already fought and weakened each other. What a bummer, a man said as his voice was filled with disappointment. All, including the now barely conscious Sasuke and Sasuke and Kiba, looked and their eyes widened. The man was tall, at least 5 feet 10. He had bloody red spiky mane of hair with 2 spiky bangs, and on top of his hair was shaped like horns, and his hair reached 2 inches below his neck in a ponytail. His face was covered in a black demonic skull mask with its teeth smiling, being sharpened like shark's own. The eyes were locked in an angry expression. At the forehead, there was a black X on it. Below the eyes was a red thin line reaching just above the teeth, making it look like it was crying out blood. The teeth themselves red stains between the upper and lower jaws, making it look like he devoured something filled with blood. He wore a bloody red high-collared trench coat with metal plating on each shoulder and the ends of each sleeve. The trench coat also had 2 tails and was opened, showing he wore a tight black turtleneck shirt showing his well-developed muscles and abs. He had black baggy pants with dozens pockets with zippers on them. He wore red shoes, same ones Ragna the Bloodedge wore. He had 2 belt buckles outside the coat in an X, with a wolf head and lion head belt buckles. He also wore black fingerless gloves with spiky steel knuckles and a steel plate at the back. His weapon at hand was very intimidating. It was big, bigger than Zabuza's blade. Okay, I can't really describe it. Think of the blade of Olympus, with the blade being dark black with red outlines and glowed red instead of blue with runic symbols on it. Change Zeus' face with a wolf's head minus the lower jaw. He had two more strange-looking weapons on his back. Okay, again I can't describe it. It's a SPAS 12 shotgun and the other one is an M4A1 assault rifle with scope and a grenade launcher attached to it. The two strange weapons were stuck on his back as if he was magnetic. What's the matter? All of you seemed like you've seen a ghost. His voice filled with an eerie joy and mocking tone that made their blood go cold. You're him? Guy finally found his voice with none of his usual cheer in them. I'm who? The man said in a fake confused and innocent voice as he tilted his head in fake confusion. Amayuri was the one who finally said it, you're the Demon Blade. After that was said, the now identified Demon Blade gave out a chuckle, Joker's chuckle not laugh, you're right my dear swordswoman. I am the Demon Blade at your service. He made a mock curtsy and put all of his attention to everyone except Tazuna. I was hoping for a good fight today right here. But all of you are weakened and that pretty much ruins the fun in fighting. He sighed then looked to his right, but you and your goons will do just fine. After he said that they turned to where he was looking and found a short fat midget in a business suit accompanied by what seemed to be 200 thugs and wannabe samurais. The Jonin senseis cursed under their breath and found themselves too weakened to continue fighting and their genin can't fight that many even if they were clan heirs or not. This is disappointing. The strongest of mist swordsmen couldn't even beat a bunch of brats. Strongest, more like the most pathetic. I was planning to kill you all and take the women from my brothel to please me and my men whenever we want, he said with a sick smile on his face with the thugs smiling and agreeing. I also want to have payback against those three bitches who broke my arm and punched me in the face, he said glaring at Haku, Saya, and Amayuri who glared back. You three did that to him? Okay. Points increased to you three, he said making the three blush for some reason. Well it's against my nature to kill weaklings, then again all of you are trash and I do eradicate trash. The bandits all looked pissed at that. Hey, all just tough talk. Whoever gives me his head and brings all the girls to me will get a hefty bonus. They cheered but when they looked back they saw the man was flirting with the Konoha kunoichis and making the three former mist shinobi jealous for some odd reason. Sorry beautiful ladies but I must take out the trash, he said as he readied his blade which was glowing even bright as it almost covered the whole weapon. He then walked away from them and then put all his attention towards the thugs. Since you're all eager to fight people who are already exhausted and weakened why don't you try someone fresh? Bring it on, bitches. He flicked them the bird for good measure as they charged at him. Yes come to the slaughter sheep as he charged to the group. Play treachery from Bleach. As he got close to one thug, he stabbed him at the chest and pushed the blade upward slicing everything up in half and swept the blade in an arc killing 6 more. He began hacking away at the group as they all slowly fell in the ground. He saw 10 charging towards him before he slashed downwards at the direction of the thugs as red energy suddenly surged towards them and disintegrated all of them. One thug got a lucky shot only to see his blade snap in two when it hit him. Did you really think you can hurt me? He said before picking him up in a chokehold and proceeded to squeeze harder until his neck was squeezed off but the head was still connected since his hand didn't reach the neck bone. The thugs saw this and decided to run instead of staying. But he wasn't allowing trash to get away to dirty up the world, so he vanished in a show speed right at the front of the running bandits. Sorry, I don't allow trash to escape. All of you are already dead, he said as took out one of his weapons on the back and pointed it at the closest bandit and pulled the trigger. Lead shot out of the shotgun and filled the thug with holes as blood shot out from him. He then pumped it again with just one arm and shot another. He did this until only around 50 were left. They decided to just jump off the bridge, anything to get away from him. As they surfaced from the water, the ones who could still move their arm frantically swam away as far as they can. Atop the bridge, the masked man looked on his fearful prey and put the shotgun back in its place and stabbed the sword to the ground. Didn't I just say all of you already dead? None of you are getting away. With a quick hand motion the water the thugs were swimming on suddenly started to whirl around creating a massive whirlpool dragging them all to a watery grave. They all tried to struggle out of the swirling waters but it proved futile as they were pulled in and never surfaced again. The man then turned his attention to Gato who fell on his ass in sweat and fear of the person in front of him. This wasn't what he had in plan. He planned on killing the shinobi and take the women to his slave market and sell the heiresses before training them to other nations for a good profit. But now he was going to die at the hands of this demon. Now all but one remains. He then slowly marched towards Gato in a slow threatening display. Wait, I can give you everything you want, money, women, jewelry, anything, just name and let me live. He begged, hoping his money would save him. As the man reached him, he grabbed him by his neck tightly. Oh sorry pig, I don't want anything from you except your life, he said before grabbing his right leg and tore the short fat arthritis-filled leg off the socket and blood leaked out like a hose. Ah! Gato screamed at the pain as his leg was violently ripped off. Ah! Here, I'll stop the bleeding. He covered his free hand in fire and then pressed it on where the limb used to be. And Gato only screamed harder and clawed his arm in a futile attempt to escape, not that he could with one leg. Oh come on, you made suffer more than this. Don't tell me you can't take it, he said in a sadistic way, then used his thumb to gauge his right eye even with the glasses on, causing the glass to pierce his eye, making it more painful. You're no fun anymore. You break easily, he said in disappointment. Time to take out the trash. He grabbed his machine gun and threw Gato to the air. With the attached grenade launcher he shot one grenade towards Gato, and as it hit the corrupt businessman it exploded and it rained with Gato's insides and blood. Music end. And that's all folks. He cheered to the ninja group who looked at him with some in awe, shock, and horror. Anko couldn't help but feel something wet between her legs and fought the urge to rub her thighs together. That was the most sadistic thing she saw outside of hers or Ibiki's own. Oh, it seems we have more visitors. He then looked the other way and saw a man in a light blue kimono and with a red sash and kiri headband. He had brown neatly done hair. Yu Takata, long time, no see, he greeted Yu Takata, who just stared at him. It's been a while, he plainly said and put his attention to the swordsman. You guys have given me a lot of trouble looking for you and taking you back to Kiri, he said as he neared them. Why, so we'll be executed, Kushimaru said angrily. No, to reinstate you guys as shinobi again, since we'll need everything to get Kiri back in place, he said, plainly ignoring their anger. What about the civil? Amayuri didn't get to finish as Yu Takata interrupted her. It's already over, he said and blew a few bubbles. Huh, Zabuza confused. It ended 3 months ago and now we are repairing the damage done, and you can thank him for that, he pointed towards the masked man who waved back. You mean he beat Yagura? Zabuza asked and Yu Takata replied, yes, but he didn't kill him. Turns out he was under a genjutsu that controlled him into starting the whole mess in the first place, he said, shocking all three of them. Before anyone else could say more they heard something hit glass. Everyone turned to see a blonde woman with a braid in a purple suit and armor punch the mask of their savior. She tried to knee him only to feel like hitting a mountain. The man grabbed the woman's wrist while she tried to get away from him. She hissed like a cat. Hey Yugito, it's been a while. Have you missed me? He said in a happy tone. Yugito struggled out of his hold, and she saw his mask shattering from her punch. Demon Blade, you are being charged for attacking a squad of Enbu from Kumo. Come peacefully now, a new voice said. He turned behind without letting go of Yugito and saw another girl with short blonde hair and cold blue eyes. Samui-chan, you're looking as hot as ever. Tell me, do you have a boyfriend? I'll kill him and then ask you to be my girlfriend, he said in an eerily cheery voice that caused said girl to blush lightly at that, but didn't took the blade away from his neck. That is none of your business, you damn pervert, she hissed, and let her go or you're not even going to make it to Kumo for a trial as a man, she threatened and made the blade closer to his neck. Oh, you're both still mad about me taking your first kiss, he chimed innocently. Both blushed red in embarrassment and anger. When Samui was about to reinforce her threat, the one she held suddenly vanished from her sight and Yugito found herself free, but both felt a strong tap at their asses and stiffened after it and blushed a very big red. Then they heard laughing a few feet from them and heard another slapping sound, and soon every female, except Sakura, stiffened at feeling their rears being smacked. Yu Takata just shook his head in slight annoyance as soon he felt Amayuri was now getting her blades ready to kill the perpetrator. My, isn't this good? 3 nations are here for me to see, he reappeared a couple of feet away from them. Tell me Yugito, Samui, how is it that you came here alone with no backup whatsoever against me? You know all too well what I'm capable of, he said as all humor left his voice. Samui answered him, I won't answer to you. Yugito then gathered a bit of Nibi's yukai. Do you want another spanking from me, little kitten? You know that's not wise, he said in a playful scolding manner, to which she blushed and unconsciously clenched her ass. Then they now took a better look at him to see that the right side cheek of his mask was cracking and falling off. His exposed cheek had unusual whisker-like marks. Naruto and Narumi were in shock. Naruto, both said, stuttered in a disbelieving manner. The man in question was shaking his shoulders, then a chuckle was heard, then it turned to full-on laughter. Okay, now it is Joker's and Hazama's laugh combined. Dang, 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 get the two beautiful ladies a price, folks, indeed it is I. Naruto, he shouted before pulling away his mask to reveal his angular face with sapphire blue eyes that was glinting in insanity. Hello everyone, I'm back and better than ever, he yelled, and enjoyed the shocked looks of every Konoha ninja. The Konoha Jonins quickly went over their shock before quickly jumping to surround him. Naruto, by order of the Konoha Council, the Hokage, and your own mother, you are to return with us back to Konoha peacefully. Should you resist, we'll take you by force, Kakashi said, and his colleagues soon took on their stances should he try to fight. Well, this is sudden. I thought they've already forgotten about me and moved on with their lives. I thought me going away would be a serious issue, he said more to himself before vanishing again and appeared a few more feet away. Sorry, but I refuse your deal. I'm not going back there. But then to his surprise, he saw the Namikaze twins go beside the Jonins. Please brother, return back home. We're sorry for what you had to go through, Narumi started. Please, we promise everything will be better. Just come back to us, brother, Naruto said as a few tears fell from her eyes. Naruto already decided, no, before preparing his blade. You'll have to drag me back. 9 years ago, 9-year-old Naruto was walking in the busy streets of Konoha. The date was October 3rd, a Saturday, and everyone was preparing for what seemed like a festival, but to Naruto there was nothing to celebrate. It was just another year of existence on his lonesome life. Everyone was so busy preparing for the birthday of the village's heroines, his twin sisters. Why am I so alone? I'm in a crowd yet I feel as if I'm the only one here? The boy asked inside his own mind. Don't bring that bullshit here, an emotionless and dead voice rang in his head. Naruto gave out a shallow chuckle that no one seemed to mind considering they were too busy in the preparations. Don't worry, soon, all of that shall end, he answered the voice in his head. Naruto was a boy of mystery and misery. He was an enigma, and he had no one to lean on for support. His loneliness was so strong, something within him grew and fed to that sorrow, loneliness, sadness, and hollowness. He had developed a new personality that revolves around his negative emotions and a voice to talk to. Now that would be considered insanity, but it was the only thing that kept him from committing suicide and let him live out his life. The clothes he wore made sure no one would notice him, a plain white shirt and brown shorts. To him, attention was no longer what he needed. His parents had ignored him multiple times in which he could no longer count. Every time they go out for dinners, picnics, beach trips, etc., he was left out and forgotten. He was stuck in the mansion with no one around and increasing his loneliness. Watching both his father and mother, Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki respectively, train his sisters, Narumi and Naruko, in their arts made him not angry or jealous, but rather, hollow. Well, now you would be asking this author, what happened all those years ago? Okay, time for a flashback. 6 years ago, a gigantic 9-tailed fox suddenly appeared in the front gates of the village of Konoha. Its tails ravaged everything it hits and killed everyone unfortunate. Its claw dug deep in the earth and causing shockwaves strong enough to almost completely destroy the gates. Its thunderous roar was heard for miles away and shook buildings in their foundation. Its chakra and killing intent leaked out of its body, making the air toxic to breathe for anyone. Everywhere, ninjas on different levels have all tried to stop the beast or at least slow it down for their leader to stop it. On a rooftop nearby, one Sarutobi Hiruzen who was wearing his battlesuit stood face to face with the beast. Biting his thumb, he made a few hand seals and slammed his hand with blood to the ground. Summoning technique, he summoned his companion, Enma the Monkey King. Sarutobi, is that the Kyuubi? He asked, pointing at the beast. Yes, it is. It appears the seal has been broken and now it is attacking the village. You know what to do, Hiruzen said as his partner nodded his head and formed a hand seal, transformation. In place of Enma was a giant staff about Hiruzen's size, and he took the staff and pointed it to the fox. "Extend," he shouted as the staff stretched forward and pushed Kyuubi a few meters away from the gate. This served to have angered the beast and roared strongly against the old man. Far away, we see Minato Namikaze was fighting a masked assailant, and he was having a hard time. Everything he threw at the man simply passed through him like a ghost. Right now, he was planning on how to defeat this man and free Kyuubi from his control. "You really are worthy of the title, Hokage, Minato Namikaze. You've survived against me this long, but now all must end for the plan to be successful," the man declared before charging against Minato. Minato on the other hand charged a Rasengan in his right hand and held his special kunai on his left. Both men charged with the intent to take the other one out. The masked man tried to grab hold of Minato's arm, but the yellow flash proved he wasn't called the fastest for nothing. Minato quickly put his arms away from him before ramming the Rasengan to the mask of the man. As the Rasengan hit, the intruder stumbled back holding his head by the mask. Minato got in a stance and prepared for anything the man might do. "I have underestimated you, Yellow Flash. You really do deserve that title, but for what you accomplished here today will do nothing for the future. Enjoy the Kyuubi's destruction." With that, the man was sucked in from a vortex that has formed in the eye hole of the mask and disappeared, leaving a confused Minato. Who was that man? Minato thought before teleporting back to where his home is. When he reached his destination, he saw the sight of one Kushina Uzumaki holding on to two newborn girls in her loving arms. It tore Minato on the inside of what he was going to do. "Kushina," he called out softly to his wife. "Minato, the Kyuubi is free," she said in a sad voice. Her worst nightmare came to life. The Kyuubi was free. "Where's Naruto?" she asked him. "He's somewhere in the village with Itachi in the Uchiha compound. He wanted to spend some time with his friends for his birthday." "I'm sure he is safe," he answered, but Kushina was crying and tears fell from her eyes. Minato came close to his wife and two new babies and hugged them both in a family embrace. Their moment was cut short when both parents looked at each other. They knew what they had to do, but before they could, one Sarutobi Hiruzen and two Sanins, Jiraiya and Tsunade, came by their doorstep in their battle gear. "Minato, Kushina, the Kyuubi is almost entering the village. The Anbu can't slow the beast any longer and many are dying." Jiraiya gave out the news. "I know, sensei. There is a way to stop it, using that seal that we have developed. I must hurry." Before he could finish, Tsunade hit a pressure point in his neck and knocked him to La La Land. "He's too noble for his own good," she shook her head at it. Jiraiya summoned Gamabunta. "I will perform the ritual in his stead." Hiruzen approached Kushina and looked at the two girls in her arms. "Kushina, you already know what I need to do," Hiruzen said, but Kushina relented a bit. "Kushina, we know the life of most Jinchurikis. It is a life of misery and hate, but you and Minato will be there to make sure they don't suffer that fate. Please let me do it," he begged her. Kushina looked at the two girls in her arms. She was finding it hard to let go, but Jiraiya and Tsunade were by her side. "Don't worry, Kushina, we'll be both here to help you raise them both. We're not going to let anything bad to them," Tsunade assured her and hugged the woman she saw as a daughter, since in technicality she is related to her. Kushina poured out all her tears at Tsunade's shoulders, and Hiruzen took it as a chance to take the two girls away from her, even though it was also hard for him to separate mother from her children. "Jiraiya," he called to his student, and the man followed him outside to help him in their plan. Kushina could only watch as Tsunade held her in her embrace. "It will be all right, Kushina. Have faith," she soothed her and waited for all of this to stop. In the Uchiha compound, everyone was running wildly as they felt the ground tremble beneath them. Two kids were there walking around and laughing before the massive quake arrived. One was a girl with black hair and eyes and wore all black. She had the Uchiha fan symbol on the back of his shirt. Another was a boy who wore a red shirt and a pair of jean shorts. He had red spiky hair and blue ocean eyes and whisker marks on his cheeks. The two boys were Uchiha Hitomi, you know who she is, and Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Both were just enjoying the day in the compound and walked and talked about their day and all. Hitomi was 8 while Naruto was 3. Both were now trying to find some help and information as to what was going on. When they reached the gates, they saw the sight of the mighty fox, and Naruto was shocked to say the least. How could the fox be out? Ka-san is in trouble, he shouted in his mind before running towards his house. Naruto-kun, Hitomi shouted, trying to get him to come back, but Naruto didn't hear her and just kept running, trying to reach his house. Naruto made a turn but found a little girl was stuck due to a piece of wood trapping her legs. He quickly went to her side and tried to push the heavy object. He cried for help but no one came since they were all afraid of the fox's sudden appearance. "Help!" he shouted again, and then some did come. He looked to his side to find the young Kakashi, Guy, Kurenai, and Asuma trying to help push the wood off. The little girl saw that her foot was free and quickly got up and ran towards her saviors and cried in Kurenai's shoulders. She tried to comfort the girl but the deafening roar of the Kyuubi made the fear greater. "Kion!" a woman shouted as she ran towards the group. "Ka-chan!" the little girl cried as she hugged her mother and cried. "It's okay honey, I'm here," she soothed her daughter. "Thank you for saving her," she thanked the group. "No problem ma'am, now you both need to get to the shelters. We'll help you get there," Asuma said, and they quickly led her, but Guy saw Naruto run to a different direction. "Hey young one, don't go in there, it's too dangerous," he shouted to Naruto, but he just kept running. "Come on Guy, we need to get them to safety. We'll find him later," Asuma said, and Guy could only watch as Naruto ran towards his house, but relented and helped the others evacuate the civilians. Naruto was running as fast as he can now to his home to reach his parents to see if they were okay. When he was about to make a turn, he found a cloud of red on his way. Ignoring the cloud, assuming they were sawdust, he ran through the cloud, not knowing his body just absorbed some of the Kyuubi's chakra. He just kept running and then found his way to the Namikaze mansion. He entered to the living room to find Tsunade and Kushina hugging each other and found his father on the floor. "To-san," he shouted and ran towards his father. He tried to shake him awake, but it didn't work. "Naruto," Kushina called to her son. Naruto faced her and walked towards her. "Ka-san, are you hurt? I saw the fox out there. Did your seal fail?" he asked in concern for his mother. "Don't worry Naruto-kun, I'll be fine," she smiled to reassure her worried son. "Sorry about your father, I knocked him out and he won't wake up for an hour or two," Tsunade said. Naruto looked at his father, and then his mother. "Where are my little sisters Ka-san?" he asked, to which Kushina smiled sadly. Before she could answer, the killing intent and malicious aura was suddenly gone. "Do you feel that?" "I don't feel it anymore," Tsunade said. Kushina and Naruto felt that the heavy feeling was gone. In the battlefield, there lay the god of shinobi in a crater where the beast formerly was. In his arms were two baby girls crying. His stomach had a seal in the shape of a spiral with the cloth around it having a hole for the seal to be seen, and the same seal could be found on both babies' navel. This was the scene that an injured Jiraiya has witnessed. He was covered with bruises and scratches from his ordeal in helping his sensei fight and seal away the Kyuubi to his students' daughters. He could not help but let a tear drop in his eyes seeing the man who helped him become who he is today die a hero's death. A squadron of Anbu arrived to see the sight of the former Hokage lying still in the ground holding two babies in his arms. Jiraiya moved towards the corpse and took the two babies and turned back to the Anbu squadron. "Seal the body. I'll give Minato the news," he said in a sad and mourning voice as he shunshined away to his student and his family. The Anbu did as they were told and sealed Hiruzen's body in a scroll. Jiraiya arrived at the doorstep of his student's home with the two girls still crying in his arms. "Oh man, how do you stop these two from crying?" he thought as he never did experience taking care of babies. He opened the door and walked inside towards the living room. There he saw Tsunade, with a little help from Naruto, woke up Minato from his slumber. Kushina saw him first with her children, and if it wasn't for her weakened state she could have ran to Jiraiya and take her children to her arms and never let go. Jiraiya, seeing her look of wanting, walked towards her and gave her children back to her, and she wrapped her arms around them both and cried tears of joy. She took a look at both of them and saw the seal. She knew that her two baby girls now carry the same burden she carried most of her life. She expected it to be Naruto, but thanks to Minato, he was spared that fate. But now, her two children must carry it and she will make sure that nothing bad happens to them. Naruto then came to his mother's side and soon Minato followed. "Jiraiya, what happened to sensei?" Tsunade asked her teammate. Jiraiya only had a sullen look. "He's no longer with us." He performed the sealing with the contract of the death god. The price was his soul. He's dead, Tsunade. He let the tears fall as he finished. Minato could only look at his sensei in sadness. Jiraiya didn't have many loved ones, for he was an orphan. He didn't have a biological family, so he saw everyone close to him as family, and now he lost one member from the short list. Minato then went to Kushina and Naruto's side. He looked at the new members of his family and smiled. Kushina, Minato, and Naruto all smiled and cooed the two babies, who stopped crying and looked curiously at them, then both giggled and laughed, causing the whole family to laugh as well. Jiraiya and Tsunade could only smile happily at the family, but unfortunately this was the last happy moment the family will ever experience. End of flashback. Damn, that was long. And here we are. Ever since the incident, Minato announced the act Hiruzen did to save the village, about his daughters holding the power of the beast, Jiraiya sealing something for the girls when they need to control the Kyuubi, and how they were heroines. The crowd all trusted their Hokage and his knowledge, so they believed him and hailed the two girls as heroines. Since then Naruto's existence was ignored. The first year of the twins, Naruto was neglected from training since they were busy trying to make the girls as healthy as possible, so he taught himself, and that year he unlocked his chakra at the impressive age of 4. His birthday was even forgotten due to it being the same day the twins were born as well. Year 2, Naruto and Narumi were becoming the icons of the village, and being kids they loved the attention they were given. But Naruto wasn't even noticed when he entered the academy and was showing great progress worthy of being a prodigy. The twins got many presents in their birthday, but he didn't even get a single present. Year 3, Naruto was all but forgotten as his parents' attention was all on the twins and their training, which has started after their birthday. He didn't get anything on his birthday, Christmas, or any other day, nothing but loneliness. He watched as both parents trained the two with everything they know for 3 years. Hitomi could not be around Naruto due to her being a ninja, and she had missions and less time for him. "Why did you stay here for this long? You should have just left after 3 years, the same voice in his head asked. "I needed to learn more. I can't go out there unprepared, and I need time to learn the useful jutsus in my father's library. Also, it was just pure luck that I found where to go when I leave this place. I had to think where to go and 2 dead people gave it to me." He smiled at that memory, and his voice inside acknowledged the answer, seeing the logic in it. Naruto took some scrolls from his father's library, ranging from training to jutsu scrolls not below C rank. He did this all for his plan. The plan: leaving Konoha. Be sure nothing will ruin your years of planning, for all it takes is one mistake and your efforts will be wasted, the voice advised. "I do not want the king to be weak," were its thoughts before going back into silence. Naruto was heading to the forest of Konoha. There he walked towards a rock formation, checking around to make sure no one was around. He put his hands to form a seal and said, "Kai." With that, the rock formation suddenly wavered and was replaced with a dark cave. Naruto then entered, but before he could go further, quickly set seal-based genjutsu to mask its appearance. As he entered, the torches inside the cave lit, giving him light towards the end of the cave. He walked all the way towards the end to meet a 3-sided wall. On the right side was the Uchiha fan symbol, and on the left was the Senju clan symbol. On the middle was a picture of some sort of village. It had tall structures and a ring in the middle of it. It was surrounded with forest on the north, a desert on the east, a waterway on the south, and a mountain range on the west. Near the walls was a giant chest. Naruto went to the chest and opened it. Inside were dozens of scrolls with the symbols of the Uchiha and Senju clan. Naruto stumbled upon this place just 2 years ago on his birthday. He was so saddened for being forgotten on his own birthday that he ran to the forest and discovered this place by pure accident. He saw a table with 2 books on them. The books were the journals of 2 of Konoha's strongest ninjas to ever be born, Madara Uchiha and Hashirama Senju. Naruto took both journals and activated a seal on his wrist, a trick he learned from the library. He took out a small scroll, opened it and placed the journals in the scroll. "Seal," he ordered, and the books disappeared in a poof, and a symbol was then placed on the scroll signifying it was sealed. Naruto then rolled the scroll and sealed it back to his wrist. Then he unsealed another scroll from his other wrist, only this time it was big, almost as big as he was. He then went back to the chest and took all the scrolls and placed them in the big one. He did the same to the journals and returned it to his wrist. He then bowed to the wall, Thank you Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha. He thanked both before moving out towards the exit. Destroy this place. They don't want anyone else discovering it even when you already took everything, his inner voice ordered. Already on it, he attached one explosive tag on one side of the cave and ran to the exit. Once he was out, he ran a few meters away and watched as the cave collapsed and the rubble piled on each other. No one will know what was in there, he said as he walked away from the forest and back to the village. He watched as many were preparing for the decoration. Restaurants were making the food for the whole village, stands for games were opening. To the village next week will be a celebration, to Naruto next week will be the escape. He walked right past the academy gates. He looked on and saw the entrance and field. He scoffed at the place. He was supposed to graduate a few months from now, and he could break Hitomi's record. He was hailed there as a prodigy, but they didn't even know he was the Hokage's son. But even that didn't make his parents notice him. It's a good thing you're leaving before passing that place. There won't be anything to hold you down on this place, his inner voice told him. Tisk, as if I want to serve him, he spat as he continued walking. Naruto then spotted the one reason he was leaving. The Namikaze family was walking in the road with everyone greeting them, especially his twin sisters. They both loved the attention they were given. Minato and Kushina were smiling at their daughters who were laughing joyfully. Naruto felt a pang of pain, but it was only short-lived as he remembered the things he must do, and with that he continued walking. Naruko and Narumi were happy to see the village prepare something even if it was a little bigger than they wanted. Minato and Kushina could only smile seeing their daughters being hailed as heroes and not as monsters that they feared. Minato was also letting a few joyful laughs and so did Kushina. Narumi and Naruko then turned to look at another direction to see red spiky hair moving away. Before they could contemplate who it was, they bumped into a little girl with short blue hair and pearly white eyes wearing a white fancy kimono. Both dropped to the ground and rubbed their heads. Sorry, I didn't see where I was going, the blue-haired girl said. Hinata-chan, the twins shouted before hugging the cute little girl. Hinata smiled after finding out it was her friends. Minato-san, Kushina-chan. A woman with dark blue almost violet hair called out to both. The woman wore an elegant lavender kimono. Next to her was a man with long brown hair and white pupil-less eyes and wore a traditional robe and coat. Himiko-chan, Hiyashi-san. Kushina shouted at the pair and soon started to chat about the preparations and whatnots. Their daughters were having a chat of their own and all laughed. Naruto was just walking, ignoring the people who were talking about the festival in a week from now, and all were thinking of gifts for his sisters. He scoffed, soon all will crumble down, he thought as he finally reached his home and went inside. He got to the living room and went to the stairs. While he was there he began to think about what he was doing. Can I really find that place? He asked himself. Doubting yourself now would jeopardize your escape. Now is not the time for that, his inner voice said. Naruto could only agree with him. Doubting would hinder his mind and his body will follow. He perished those thoughts as he reached his room. He stood at the front of the door and placed his palm at it, and the door glowed with a seal of ink appeared and the door opened to his room. Naruto's room was the very definition of plain and lifeless. Nothing but the walls, floor, bed, and closet made up the room, and there were no decorations in it that you would find in a normal 9-year-old's room. The whole room was white and the bed was well done and no wrinkles on it. You could find more life on a graveyard than this place. He sat on his bed and took out the scroll with the journals out of his wrist. He then lied down, grabbed a pillow to support his head and then opened Hashirama's journal first. He read the page where the date was when he was at the age of 10. I can't believe what I and Madara have discovered. A portal, en route to a world of endless battles and wars, are being held. A place where warriors who died, yet still have that desire to fight and keep their skills intact even in death. We have both entered this place and its residents have accepted us with open arms and showed us their ways and their own styles in fighting. When we returned back to our world, we incorporated their teachings in our training and hopefully it will help us in putting peace in our world. I have learned how to control my powers. And because we can go there anytime we want, we can learn more and become stronger. After reading it, he skipped to more than 100 pages and read when after he became the first Hokage. I can't believe it. Because of Madara's act of taking his brother's eyes that the place I used to go to has banned us both from entering because of his dishonorable act. I was also punished due to guilt by association. I tried to plead to them to give us another chance, but his actions were too bad to be ignored. I pray that this would not turn worse as I can feel Madara becoming darker and more cynical. Naruto shut the book close and put it in his bedside table. He then took Madara's journal, but decided not to read it since it made him quite uneasy reading about the man who almost plunged the world in endless war. Naruto got up and went to his window. A few feet from it was a branch from the tree that was growing in the yard. The branch was strong enough to support his weight and the leaves would be his cover plus the night sky, and with the noise inside he can stealthily get out of the gate and into the streets. The problem was the massive crowd and Anbu watching the festival. He has to find some routes where he can get out with less trouble. Now he must prepare his mind and body through meditation and exercise in order for it to be easier. This will be my final week of loneliness. Present. Naruto put his mask back to his face, and to the surprise of everyone the mask was fixing itself and under 5 seconds it was as good as new. Naruto then got his blade up in front of him and soon the blade started to shine in a green light as the blade soon turned from black to white with the wolf head turning into a lion head. The runic symbols also turned green and soon the light deemed to show its new form. Well, what are you all looking at? I thought you all wanted to take me in. Well, here's your chance. He taunted and soon the Konoha Junins charged at him. All the genins, including a reluctant few, escorted Tazuna away from the bridge to make sure he didn't get hurt and hurried in their steps so they can help their masters. The mist ninjas were contemplating on whether they wanted to face him or just get the hell out. Samui and Yugito were all trying to find a weakness in his form, but were finding none even when his posture was lax, it had no opening. Yugo tried to slash him with her blade but Naruto blocked them all with ease with his blade. Come on, is that the best you can do? My blade wanted someone strong but you're not fitting it, he said as he pushed Beer away with just one arm on his blade, and he had to move his head away from a punch from Guy and blocked some kicks and more punches from the taijutsu master. Kakashi with a lightning clone by his side started to go through hand seals and soon gathered lightning in the original's right hand and the clone's left hand. Lightning transmission. Both charged at the distracted Naruto, only to hear Samui's and Yugito's shouting. Wait, don't attack him, elemental justice. Both shouted but it was too late for Kakashi. Naruto heard the sound of lightning from his back. He pushed Guy and Yugo away via his blade and turned around. What he did shocked everyone except for the Kumo ninjas. He grabbed the lightning chain like it was plain rope and stopped both Kakashi and his clone. Due to the sudden loss of speed and not expecting it, the clone and original skidded in the bridge as the clone dispelled itself and Kakashi landed on a heap. Naruto held the lightning chain in his hand, and he clenched it into a fist and the lightning dissipated. Oh come on people, I thought you read my bingo book entry and it clearly said using elemental techniques on me is very unwise. He taunted them, but soon he was wrapped around by dozens of large snakes, summoned by one Mitarashi Anko in her sleeves. Hey, got you now brat, she said, but felt 2 pairs of arms wrapped around her waist. Hey beautiful, what you got there? She turned her head to see the masked face of Naruto. Before she could react and dispel her snakes, he moved his mask to the side exposing his lips and caught Anko's own. Anko did not see that one coming and couldn't do anything but stand there. Before she could get into it, Naruto jumped away from her to prevent a trench knife from Asuma and a kunai from Kurenai. Naruto then took out his shotgun and aimed it at them. Asuma and Kurenai dodged the fast-moving projectiles as they already saw what could happen if he were to get hit by them. Naruto kept firing shot after shot at the Konoha ninjas until he got tired of it and returned it back. You know what? Time for something different. Naruto's blade soon flashed green again, but this time it disappeared. He then held out both hands and soon a mass of light appeared on his right hand and a mass of darkness on his left. And soon they started to make shape. As it finally stopped, both in Naruto's hands were 2 ordinary-looking samurai katana blades. The difference of both was that the right one had a white hilt and at the end of the handle was a white skull structure of a feline animal, and the other one had a black hilt with a black canine skull at the end of the handle. Both blades were clean silver and shined even with little to no light. Naruto spun the blades on his hands and got into an unfamiliar stance. I've got a challenge for you. Make me say their names. It's already been 2 days since Naruto destroyed the cave of Senju Hashirama and Madara Uchiha. He was outside walking around, but if you could read his mind, you'll know that he was out not for a measly walk. He was finding routes and paths wherein he could escape to. Everybody was now busy for the preparations for his sister's birthday party and Kyuubi festival. He could not help but give out a shallow chuckle. Heh, soon this village will not be the same again, he mentally cackled. Indeed, you will very much turn this place upside down at your plan, his inner voice agreed. He was walking straight up, but stopped when he saw a man with a cart of cabbages just straight up the gates. He mused as he was planning something that involved that cart. If he was at the gate at the same place at the same time as to the festival, he could use this to his advantage. For now he'll see if tomorrow he'll be on the same spot. For now he has to watch on where the Anbu would patrol for the festivities, so he walked away from the gates and strolled in the richer districts. He saw some chunins and junins jumping from the rooftops, guarding everyone and making sure there was no trouble. He scouted out each team that was patrolling today. He had to wait for tonight to see who would assign for night duty. Hey, didn't you hear? The twins are going to sign the Toad contract from their father. I can't wait to see it. One random chunin excitedly said to one civilian who also seemed very happy at the news. Really? Well, that would be a sight to see, the civilian said cheerfully. Naruto scoffed at that. Fools, you shouldn't gossip that kind of information. You don't know where a spy could be, or if the person you're talking to is a spy, he thought bitterly. As he walked by on every person, he could not help but feel jealous at seeing kids being happy with their parents, friends laughing at enjoying themselves, lovers holding hands and enjoying each other's company. He never had happiness for most of his life, but now he had a chance to find it out there. He went to different alleys, walkways, store, and practically everything in where he could walk without being noticed. Naruto made a photographic memory of each sight he saw. He then noticed he was near the park. Maybe I should stay here until the night shift comes so I can see who will be guarding the festival, he thought as he went to a tree near a lake. The park was made both by Hashirama and his brother Tobirama. The trees came from the former and the water from the latter. They made this so that everyone can relax and appreciate nature. Naruto respected that as he found the park relaxing and fell asleep leaning on the tree. When he fell asleep, he didn't know what was happening in the house he lives in. Namikaze Mansion. Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze was doing some cleaning around the manor. She was already done with the downstairs of the house, and was now cleaning the upstairs where the rooms were along with the library and weapon room. She passed by the master's bedroom where she and Minato sleep. It was a very beautiful room. The walls had a leaf green tone with leaf decorations on it with linear pattern going down. Okay, I'm not a good designer in rooms, Sumi. The floors were marble and reflected the right amount of light. The bed was king-sized and above the bed was a portrait of the whole family including Naruto surprisingly hanging on the wall. She studied the portrait and smiled at seeing Minato, Narumi, and Naruko smiling around her hugging like a family, but when she saw her only son she suddenly frowned. He was just standing there, his back almost completely turned and only the top portion of his face could be seen. She may not be able to see it, but she could feel him scowling. His eyes held nothing but a bitter cold feeling in her. While he had the same shade of blue as his father, they did not feel the same way at all. Naruto, she said quietly and then continued to walk in the hall with a face of uncertainty. As she continued to walk, she passed her two daughters' room. She opened to see that the room was very lively. 2 beds, posters on the walls, toys of different kinds, knick-knacks, everything in a child's room were there, and it was so full of life. Her smile returned as she thought of all the good times she had with her daughters, but when she thought of her time with Naruto, sadness and guilt overcame her mind. Not one time had she remembered when the family had a happy moment with Naruto after the twins were born. In fact, there was nothing they all did together with Naruto. She now realized that every time Naruto comes home from the academy he marches to his room and stays there until dinner. And when dinner comes he just eats as fast and quiet as he can and leaves in his room for the rest of the night. Even more guilt washed over her as she remembered the shared birthdays him and his sisters have. In every birthday, the twins get tons of presents from friends, clans, shinobi, and civilians. Naruto on the other hand didn't get a single one for the last 5 years, and whenever a party is held in their home, Naruto would just disappear or try not to get himself noticed by being quiet or staying away from others. There wasn't even a person who told him happy birthday, or even looked for him, not even them his family. She wasn't even sure if he had friends at all. Wasn't he supposed to be well known in the academy? She asked herself in her mind. Then another thought hit her. She knew nothing of his capabilities as a ninja. What's his specialty? What field does he lacks in? What type of ninja he could be? Ninjutsu? Taijutsu? Genjutsu? Even chakra control? She had blanks on him. She didn't even know how he does in the academy while they watched their daughters practice in the training field while Naruto was ignored. They know nothing of his abilities. Then another guilty thought. They haven't trained Naruto in the clan arts. He is 9 for Kami's sake. Heirs were supposed to be trained half that age. Yet they haven't taught him anything. She was sure Naruto didn't even think he was an heir to their clan. She felt the weight of the situation finally hit her. If she were sum up her son, it would be that he was a shadow, a phantom, an enigma, a person that has no public identity. She could not hold it in any longer and cried tears out as she fell to her knees. I failed my son. It was simple, but it sums everything up about her family. She got up and closed the door to her daughter's room. She walked with tears still in her eyes as she reached corner of the hall and went to the other side. In the right corner of the hall, there was one room that the whole family never bothered to go to, Naruto's room. As she made her way to his room's door, another fact came to her. She has never been inside the room ever since he became 4. The simple mahogany door stood beside her and the room of her neglected child. She put her right hand up and was now going to grab the doorknob. When her hand reached the knob, ink marks started to form on the door. The ink was then starting to form into intricate designs and finally stopped a few seconds later. Her eyes widened when she saw the complex seal array. Her eyes could not believe what she saw. How does Naruto know these seals? These are things even Junins find hard to grasp the basics, let alone the advanced, she said to herself. It was true. Seals are complicated and complex arts. The potential of a seal user is limited to their imagination, but you need a wide range of knowledge on seals to know how to make and create. But when she saw the seal, or rather seals, on the door, she could not believe Naruto took it well for someone his age. There were a total of 3 seals in the door. One was a blood seal. It can only be deactivated by the blood of the user or someone they incorporated it with, and as long as it is active it will block away any attempt to deactivate or disfigure with the object it was drew upon. Second was a warning seal. It will warn the user if it detects any foreign chakra signatures that have disturbed object, S, or person, S, that it was put on. Third was a sound seal. It blocks away any sound that comes in or out of an area, giving everyone a moment of privacy. Kushina was amazed at Naruto's ability to combine all 3 with each other for one purpose, complete and utter isolation. The thought worried her. Why would Naruto make these kinds of seals unless he doesn't want anyone coming in? Naruto. Why? She silently wondered. She decided to wait, where is Naruto? Has she ignored him to the point where she doesn't even pay attention to what he does every day? I'm a bad mother. I'm not a mother at all. Well, to Naruto I'm not, she finally concluded. She turned away from the door and went downstairs, forgetting her original purpose of going up. As she reached the couch in front of the fireplace in the living room, she sat down and looked at another portrait that was the same as in her room. She felt exhausted, not physically but mentally. I guess the realization was overbearing, she mused with herself in a shallow chuckle. She just realized that she ignored her son after 6 fucking years. She just stared at it for what seemed like hours for her. Then suddenly the portrait dropped to ground, breaking the glass in the frame. The picture was also close to the fire in the fireplace. The picture was starting to burn, so she quickly grabbed the family portrait to save it. As she shook a small flame out, she checked the condition of the picture, and to her shock everyone was there except for one person, Naruto. The fire completely burned him out of the portrait. To Kushina, this was a very ominous sign. Her heartbeat was faster, sweat was pouring out of her, her breathing was fast and deep, and her mind was going on a mile a second. This was not a good sign. Hokage office. One Minato Namikaze was sitting his desk and doing what he hated the most, as well as all cages, paperwork. He was stamping through requests, files, reports, etc. He was right now reading on the academy papers, since in a few months a new batch of genins will be graduating. He was first reading on the reports of his daughter's batch. It seems that the heirs and heiresses are showing the strength of their clans, and his daughters were doing quite well. He smiled proudly, knowing that with the training they got from both parents were showing fruit. Now if he could teach them some sealing. Before he could go further, he then checked the batch that was going to graduate and he was shocked to the core. He scratched his eyes, not believing what he was reading. Student name: Naruto. Clan: N.A. Bloodline: N.A. Age: 9. Academic performance: showing signs of being a prodigy. Perfect in all academic and practical aspects. Intelligence level is near that of a Nara. Youngest person to graduate from academy, breaking Hitomi Uchiha's record. Able to do basic academic jutsus without seals. Shown to have interest and ingenuity in fuinjutsu. Performance percentage: academic standard. Ninjutsu: 100%. Genjutsu: 100%. Taijutsu: 100%. Weaponry, range and melee: 100%. Chakra control: 100%. Other skills: stealth: perfect. Information gathering: perfect. Assassination: perfect. Tracking: perfect. Medical arts: perfect. Evaluation: mindset is that of a ninja in war. Healthy in both mind and body, he is what made many ninjas famous. Though he lacks social skills and has not been seen communicating with other students unless told to do so by instructors. In spars, he shows absolute focus and could bring down bigger and older opponents. Skills were that of Orochimaru and Hitomi Uchiha in all aspects when they were in the academy. The only thing he lacks is trust in his comrades and opening to his fellow ninjas. Minato, after finishing reading the report, had a gobsmacked face. Why haven't I noticed this before? He asked himself. He kept rereading the report about his son, and there were two things that really caught his attention: his name and status. His family names weren't written and it said he has no clan. This wasn't right. Couldn't they see the resemblance between him and his son? I mean, sure, his hair is red, but his hairstyle is the same and his blue eyes are almost like his. Why didn't he tell them he was my son? He asked mentally as he rechecked everything. He was surprised that Naruto was that skilled. Hell, he was compared to Orochimaru and Hitomi Uchiha, who were prodigies in their time. He was shocked that Naruto was already graduating this year, and what made him uncomfortable was the fact he didn't even know. Something told him that Naruto wasn't showing his full capabilities in the academy even with the grades he got. Then there was another: how could he be the rookie of the year when they taught him nothing? Nothing, his mind repeated. The thought filled him with shame. His son was this good without them, yet what would happen if they did teach him? Minato just felt shame overcome him. He, like Kushina, realized how much they screwed up on their first child. Naruto was already graduating so young, so fast, and without them being there to help him. I need to know more about Naruto, and maybe I can talk him to maybe hold back for 3 years. He should enjoy life a little more, he said, and then rechecked his report. Maybe that wouldn't be good considering his results. I'm too late to try and talk him to reconsider. At least I can do is congratulate and support him like a father. Minato could only shake his head in shame. He dropped the report in the table and was about to grab another when his hand tipped the ink bottle and it smudged the report about Naruto. He tried to get it out as fast as he can, and now when he looked at it, everything was fine except that Naruto's name was now forever stained with ink. I don't like this, he said to himself. Konoha Park. Naruto and Narumi were wearing expensive-looking silver kimonos and were accompanied by their friends Ino Yamanaka in a purple kimono, Hinata Hyuga in a lavender kimono, and Satsuki and Naomi Uchiha, who were both wearing navy blue kimonos. They were accompanied by Hiyashi Hyuga and Himiko Hyuga, who was carrying a 3-year-old Hanabi Hyuga. The girls were talking to each other and enjoying leading their guardians to the park as they were greeted by everyone with smiles and waves. The girls were all having fun gossiping amongst each other as they were walking and enjoying the views of the park and now nearing the playground. Alright kids, play safe, okay? We'll be in the benches, Himiko said as she let Hanabi go and she ran to her sisters and friends. All the girls nodded before running off to the playsets. The couple couldn't help but smile and laugh seeing the children having fun and enjoying their time. They were all chasing each other in a game of tag, and they were laughing, chasing, and practically just ran with so much happiness that would bring a smile to even the most sadistic people in the world. The girls decided to go the swing set and all of them were enjoying it, feeling the wind blowing on their face as the swings were making them go to high heights. Little Hanabi wanted a little drink considering she was sweating, and the day was a little hot, so she asked her mother to help her drink in the fountain. Himiko then carried Hanabi to the fountain and helped her drink in it by carrying her and to support her as she drank up the water. Himiko was looking around the park when she noticed a speck of red in a tree near the lake of the park. She activated her bloodline and saw that the person was a child around 9 years and looked like a mini Minato with red hair and whisker marks on his cheeks. Himiko's eyes widened at seeing someone who looks like Minato with hair as red as Kushina's. Wait a minute, didn't Minato and Kushina have a son? She thought in her head. She was trying to find in her mind the answers to her question, but she was taken off by a shake in her arms. Ka-san, I had enough. Ka-san, Hanabi shouted, waking her mother from her trance. Oh sorry Hanabi-chan, she said as she let her down. You can go back to them, she said, and Hanabi ran back to her friends. Himiko calmly walked towards Hiyashi. He could clearly see some uncertainty in his wife. It was like she forgot something very important. Hiyashi-kun, did Minato and Kushina ever have a son? She asked him with some hesitation. Hiyashi was surprised by this. Yes, I think they did, he answered after looking to his memory. He remembered that both showed them a son around 9 years ago in the Hyuga manor. After that, they would let him in their home and Minato bragged become a father first out of all of his peers. But now, he never saw the boy or just hasn't noticed him after the twins were born. This is troubling. If that is so, how come is it that I forgot about him? I should know since Kushina would show me her children. I don't even know, or, if not, remember his name. She was worried for some reason. You don't forget your best friend's son's name. Well, I do. Nari. Naruto? Hiyashi was trying to remember until he hit the mark. Naruto, Himiko repeated, and then all memories she had of him returned to her. Kushina showing him to them. Naruto playing with her, their walks in the park with him, and even his birthday. Himiko faced Hiyashi with fear in her eyes. Hiyashi, when is his birthday? She asked him in fright. Hiyashi was trying to remember some facts about Naruto. His eyes widened as shock. October 10th, the same day as the twins, he answered her. Himiko was in a panic attack. Have we ever given him anything? Presents? A happy birthday? She panicked out. Hiyashi could only look down and shake his head. No. We haven't. I mean, how can we? He always blends into the background, he is very quiet, and he practically doesn't want to be noticed. What kind of child would do that? He asked her. Now that you point that out, I never saw him walk with his family around the village, Himiko said as she moved to sit with her husband in the bench. I think that child might be neglected by everyone around him. What should we do? She asked in a sad tone. Himiko loved children. She didn't want to see one suffering physically or emotionally. It tears her heart seeing one being tormented one way or another. Hiyashi comforted his wife. Let's just talk this one to Minato and Kushina, alright? He tried to make her feel happy. Himiko only nodded as she tried to fight the tears away. When they looked back at front, they saw all the girls standing and looking at them with curiosity. Ka-san, is something wrong? Hinata asked her. Himiko shook her head no as she tried to make a happy smile, but there were traces of sadness in it. Narumi-chan, Naruko-chan, she called the twins. The two girls looked straight in her eyes in wonder. Yes, both twins answered her. Do you have a brother? She asked them softly with sadness. The twins' eyes widened at this. Yes, we do. Naruto-ni-chan, Naruko answered with a smile. But he doesn't want to play with us, Narumi said with a sad frown on her face. Himiko suddenly remembered all the times she had with Kushina and Minato and now Naruto. How could she forget a child? She tried to smile happily at the kids, and almost failing miserably. Well, why don't you ask him to play with you now? He's over there by a tree right now, she said, pointing to the tree where he is sleeping. Yeah, maybe he'll join us this time. Narumi cheered as she grabbed her friends to take them to their brother. With Naruto, he was still sleeping, minding his own business, and was enjoying his alone time. That is until someone scrammed at his head. Naruto, get up, someone is here. Naruto suddenly jolted up, surprising the people who were looking at him. The twins and their friends were shocked at how fast he got up. He looked behind him to see the shocked looks of his sister and friends. They could only look in surprise and fear at seeing his cold blue lifeless eyes. Putting his hands in a ram seal, he disappeared in a puff of smoke and leaves. Everyone was shocked seeing this. Hiyashi and Himiko were shocked at seeing a child, who is not even a decade old, was able to do a Chunin level just you. They did not notice the eyes that were looking at them from a distance. Naruto sighed in relief at avoiding them. We have to leave. Sooner rather than later, Naruto, you must now prepare. Tonight I will give you something useful. The voice said as Naruto shunshined again further away from everyone. With Minato. Jiraiya, what brings you here? Hopefully not your research, asked Minato while he was putting away the academy reports out but kept Naruto's seeing as it was a very bad omen. What can't a man visit an old student, said Jiraiya. So besides peeping on women, why are you here? The toads summoned me and told me a prophecy similar to the one they gave me earlier. Really? Asked Minato. He remembered when Jiraiya told him the prophecy the toads gave him. What did they say? The prophecy said the chosen one is a child born from two powerful shinobi and has a great inner power within. There is more but it won't be revealed until later. I assume it means it's either Naruto or Narumi because they met the Kyuubi when they were 3. And was hoping you would let them sign the toad contract. Minato nodded in understanding what his old sensei was saying, but then frowned when he thought about Naruto. So you believe it's one of them? What about Naruto? He could be it too. Asked Minato. Possible, but how is he in the academy though? Minato gave him Naruto's academy report. Jiraiya scanned every detail and was shocked at his student's son's performance in the academy. This is identical to Orochimaru's own, maybe even better than his. How did he manage this? Jiraiya practically shouted. Minato just sighed and rubbed his temples and practically had a look of desperation. I don't know. I don't know anything at all about him. I mean, what kind father am I to not know that he was already graduating? Not knowing he's about to become an adult even only barely a decade old. Minato dropped his head in the desk with a thud. Jiraiya could only feel sad seeing the state that his student was in. We taught him nothing, yet this is how far he already went. I can't ask him to stop now because I have no right. What should I do, sensei? Minato begged Jiraiya near tears. Jiraiya was stumped. He didn't know what to do since he was never a father, but looked at Minato like a son. Maybe you should try talking to him, and me too, since I never really been a godfather to him too, and I think Tsunade thinks so too. Maybe we should all meet and talk with him. Hope that he would talk to all of us, Jiraiya advised, and Minato nodded. Alright sensei, let's go to my place and talk to Kushina and Tsunade, since she's already there I think. Minato and Jiraiya left the office, but not without Minato bringing Naruto's academy report. With Kushina. Kushina was right now in the living room drinking tea with Tsunade sitting across her so they can talk. Their conversation was like Jiraiya and Minato's own about Naruto, and Kushina was very depressed. Tsunade was also thinking sad because she hadn't been a good godmother either. How could I neglect one of my own over another? Mito-sama taught me better than that, Kushina cried out as tears went down her face. Tsunade walked up to her and hugged her for comfort. I know what you mean. I haven't been a good godmother to him either, Kushina cried in Tsunade. Just then they heard the door opened and came in the twin sisters. They looked kind of shocked, sad, and afraid. When they went to the living room, both went to their mother, who quickly whipped the tears away. Hello girls, how was your day? She asked with a pained smile that both sisters didn't notice. We saw Ni-kun at the park. Narumi started to look at the ground nervously. Then he poofed away and what was it called again, Ka-san? Shu-shun. Naruko tried to pronounce it. A shunshin? She asked shocked. Hi, both said at the same time. Kushina was shocked even more. Naruto knows a Chunin level move? Then the door opened again and this time it was Minato and Jiraiya walking in. Minato saw everyone was in the living room and saw Kushina was depressed even if she was hiding it. Hello Minato-kun. She smiled like before but with greater pain. As all of them were now gathered, they all started to talk about Naruto and how much they neglected him since the twins were born. The twins were sad about that fact, but the parents told them it wasn't their fault, it was theirs. But the twins kept it was theirs and turned to a debate. Kushina was now crying tears at seeing that her daughters were at fault here. Minato then remembered that it was close to Naruto and the twins' birthday. I have idea that might help. After the birthday party I'll be starting his training. Minato replied, trying to comfort his wife. Kushina looked at Minato with a smile on her face. I bet he would love that. I hope he will. Hey, where is Naruto-kun? She asked, wondering where her son could be at. The twins said that they last saw him in the park before he vanished via shunshin. He can do the shunshin? Minato asked with a gobsmacked expression. Jiraiya and Tsunade too were surprised. Not every child could do a high-level technique like that. How much has Naruto done on his own? As they were talking amongst themselves, the subject of their matter came in walking to the stairs. Naruto has just entered the house, not calling it a home, and quickly and quietly opened the door and headed to his room. Right now, he was walking silently in the living room and bothering to take notice of everyone present in the room, and he was listening to some tunes in his iPod and letting the cool music soothe his ears. Right now he is listening to Somewhere I Belong by Linkin Park. Kind of fits, don't you think? He expected everyone in there to be happily chatting and preparing their presents for the twins. Blah 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 blah. So imagine to his surprise when he felt a hand on his shoulders. He did something that was taught to him in the academy. When someone you don't want enters your circle, remove the threat immediately. So he quickly went to get a kunai from his pouch and swiped at the person connected to the offending limb. Minato was surprised that Naruto was quick in his reflex and barely got a kunai of his own to stop his attack. When Naruto saw who it was, he just put the kunai away and continued upstairs as if nothing happened. Everyone was too shocked to move or reach out to him. Naruto reached his room and deactivated all the seals to finally being able to open his door and enter his only safe haven. Right now he practically threw himself to the bed and catches a few Z's. Downstairs, they finally went through shock. Why did Naruto do that? Minato asked more to himself as he just stood there with kunai in hand. The twins and Kushina finally stood up and went to Minato. Jiraiya and Tsunade decided to answer as to how they perceived it. I think he thought you were a threat, Minato, Jiraiya said as he analyzed Naruto's movement in his head. There was no wasted movement, all were flawless. If Naruto was bigger, he could have at least cut Minato. When someone enters your circle, you remove the threat immediately. That's something the academy always teaches, Tsunade explained as she remembered that saying all too well, all due to a certain pervert in the room. After hearing the word academy, Minato finally remembered the reports on Naruto. Did you know that Naruto is going to graduate in a few years? Minato told everyone, and all were amazed at it except Jiraiya since he already knew. That's not all, Jiraiya stated. His performance is equal, if not better than Orochimaru's own. Kushina, Tsunade, and the twins were now very interested. Minato took out the reports and everyone was amazed and saddened by this. He did this without our help. Kushina's sad voice rang out as to see how much he has done without them, but what could he be if they did help him? Now he was going to graduate, and they can't ask him to hold out for a few years. They didn't have the right to do so. Let's try doing this tomorrow, okay? We'll talk to him after dinner and maybe we could know more about him, Minato suggested, which made Kushina and the twins happy to have a chance to reconnect with the estranged Naruto. Jiraiya and Tsunade left so that the family can go with their plans without their interruption. A few hours later, Kushina was cooking dinner, making the family's favorite food, ramen. She was hoping that the family can be whole again after how much they haven't done anything for Naruto. After she was done cooking, she placed it on a serving bowl and put it in the table, set up by the twins. Dinner came and Naruto came out of his room, with a black t-shirt and black sweats. When he got to his spot on the table, he felt like there were eyes on him. He looked up and to his surprise his family, waiting for him, with smile on their faces. Even Narumi and Naruko seemed to be waiting for him. Usually they would be attacking the food by now, especially when it's ramen. What the hell is going on here? He thought to himself. Maybe they finally noticed they have a son and a brother. Replied hollow voice, that's what I'm going to call him now, or HV for short, who saw what Naruto saw. We'll see about that. Naruto took out his chopsticks to eat his ramen. When he ate the first bite, the family started eating their ramen. This confused Naruto a lot, just what was going on to make his family change. So Naruto, how was your day? Asked Kushina, who actually wanted to know her son's day. Naruto was shocked his family actually talked to him. He was a little happy that he was finally getting attention, but that was easily washed away with anger. So now they notice me after all this time. Whatever. This changes nothing. Good answer, Naruto. They don't deserve forgiveness, not right now at least. Naruto inwardly nodded to HV. Nothing special, he replied in a quick, monotone voice and went back to his food. Kushina frowned at his answer and how he answered. Narumi quickly jumped in. So brother, what was your lesson in the academy? She asked. A waste of time, that's what it was. He quickly replied, finishing his ramen. She frowned at his answer. It felt as he didn't even want to talk to them. Minato watched the conversation, or lack of one. He was getting the same feeling as his daughter. Wanting to get him to talk, hoping to break the ice with a joke. A waste? Really? Are the lessons still that boring? Asked Minato. Yes, was Naruto's simple reply. What were they teaching nowadays? Naruto asked him. The parts of chakra and the elements. Well, the theory is quite boring, but the lesson is still important. You misunderstand. I never said the lesson was a waste. Naruto interrupted. Minato raised an eyebrow in confusion, and so did Kushina. The twins were also confused because he thought it was so boring and useless. Minato was curious on what he meant. So what did you mean then, Naruto? Asked Minato. It was a waste of time because I already know it. Naruto then walked over to the sink and started to wash his dish. Shocked that he already knew it, a supposedly advanced subject, Kushina broke out of her trance and saw Naruto about to wash his dish. Naruto, I'll wash it for you. You don't have to, okay? Said Kushina. Naruto continued to wash his dish. It's fine, I don't to burden you or waste any time of yours. I'm able to take care of myself. He replied without a glance at his mother. Shocked at her son's reply, started to get depressed and tears started to gather in her eyes. Minato was just as shocked as Kushina and also felt depressed. He thinks he's nothing to this family. They both thought, with a fire in their eyes, which was going to change no matter what. As Naruto finished cleaning his dish, they finished eating their ramen. Since they were eating ramen, they finished it quick. Naruto started to walk back to his room till his father called him to the living room and said that they were having a family meeting. Such irony, Naruto thought, but went to the living regardless. Saw that his mother and sisters were sitting on the sofa, leaving a spot for him to sit between them, while Minato sat across from them. He raised his eyebrows slightly at their attempt to bring him in. So he decided to lean against the wall next to them. Kushina, Minato, Narumi, and Naruto frowned at this, but their determination didn't falter to bring him back. Minato decided to start it off. Naruto, me and your mother have some news that you'll like, Minato said. Naruto stared at him with his glacier-like eyes, making him flinch slightly but continued. After your birthday, tomorrow we will be starting your training in the family styles. He said. Kushina nodded with a smile, believing that it worked. Does that mean brother will be training with us? A hopeful Naruto asked. Both Kushina and Minato nodded and the twins glowed with happiness. Minato looked at Naruto and was shocked at him. His face was still cold and expressionless. His eyes, unlike his bright sapphire eyes, his were frozen glaciers. His face didn't twitch, even the slightest. Both Kushina and the twins were shocked too. Both thought that Naruto would be happy that he was finally getting to train. Kushina was certain that this would work. Naruto, aren't you excited? We can now train together, exclaimed a confused Narumi. Naruto turned his cold, dead eyes at her. No, I'm not. Should I be? He stated in monotone voice. Why, Naruto? Don't you want to learn our taijutsu styles? Don't you want to be strong like me and your father? Asked Kushina, trying to get Naruto to reconsider. Naruto, why don't want to train with us? Asked Minato, trying to figure out he doesn't want to train with them. I gave up on learning from your styles when you refused to teach me when you began to teach Naruto and Narumi. Minato and Kushina were shocked and curious why their son didn't want to learn their style and jutsus and be strong like them. Broken out of their thoughts when Naruto spoke, you didn't want to train me then, so why start now? I'm coming along quite well without you, stated Naruto in a neutral tone. Both his parents were greatly saddened and hurt when he said that. But before they could reply, which brings up another question, why do you want to train me now? I have a few of my own theories on why you would. Guilt is the first. You feel guilty that you neglected my training, so you offered to train but would stop as soon as you felt better. Second is perception. As Hokage and clan head, it would look bad if any child of yours wasn't strong or was weak. Finally is the village. If one of the village's weapons, Minato and Kushina cringed when he said that and were appalled that their son would think like that, was defective or not adequately trained, ID would not be able to be used for the village. Naruto finished without a single twitch of a muscle or inflection of his voice. His family was wide-eyed and mouths agape. They were stunned and disturbed by their brother's rant. They were thinking a mile a second, trying to comprehend on what he said. Naruto, seeing that they weren't going to saying soon, decided to head to his room. Well, if that is all, then I'll head to my room. Good night. Naruto finished and went to his room, leaving his family shell-shocked at his rant. Kushina and the twins started to break down and cry. Minato, comforting both crying girls, trying to understand why would Naruto draw to such conclusions, he looked down at both Kushina and the twins. The twins were babbling, "Why Naruto? Why?" Kushina was in a similar state as his daughters. He decided to take them upstairs and put them to bed. He first drops off Naruto and Narumi to their room, then Kushina to theirs. He puts Kushina on the bed and sees her face and eyes red and puffy from crying. She looks up and says, "What do we do now?" Minato sighs and looks up at the ceiling. "I don't know. For once I don't have a clue on what to do." He looks back down at her and moves to sit next to her. He stares at her, uncertainty and doubt in his eyes. "I just don't know. The only thing I know is I'm not gonna give up on bringing him back," proclaimed Minato. The doubt and uncertainty gone from his eyes, replaced with raw determination. Kushina sees this, her resolve to get her son back renewed by her husband. Both settling on their renewed determination, decided to go to bed. Naruto. He was in his room, lying in his bed sleeping. But right now he was doing something not many people can do. He was entering his mind. As he entered, he saw everything was nothing more than a void of darkness, and misty white clouds flowing in his feet where he stands. "It's finally time for us to meet, Naruto," HV's voice was heard echoing throughout the area. Naruto was looking everywhere to the source of the sound. "Behind you." Naruto turned around and was surprised to say the least. HV was practically his mirror image. His height, structure, hair, etc. was exactly a copy of Naruto, only everything in him was ghostly white, like hollow Ichigo. He was also wearing a mask with no eye holes in it, and had 4 vertical stripes that were thinning as it went down, making it look like triangles. His clothes were all white, also a Spada uniform. You're the voice that's talking to me all this time?" Naruto shouted as a rare moment of showing emotion. HV just nodded, and Naruto quickly regained himself. "I have waited for this moment ever since my creation. I waited patiently for you to finally become strong enough to leave this place. I know you have questions, so ask them now." "Okay, first, what are you really?" Naruto asked. "To answer your question, I have a question of my own. Did you remember the details of your sister's birth? Which part exactly? Remember when you frantically ran back to your house?" Naruto nodded. "When you ran through a cloud of red that you thought was sawdust was actually chakra of the fox." Naruto was shocked. "He ran through highly toxic chakra of a demon and lived. When you ran through it, bits of it were absorbed in you. The chakra that came inside of you was the spiritual half of it. As it came inside of you, it tried to find something to feed off of you. As time went by and your parents ignored you, it finally found something to consume, your negative emotions. Sadness, anger, hate, envy, and others were eaten by that chakra. As time went on, the chakra manifested itself to create a form, me. Yes, I am the personification of all your negative emotion." Naruto absorbed it all. He finally understood everything about the creation of the being in front of him. "Tell me, why are you helping me?" "Because what you want is what I want. You and I are mere 2 sides of the same coin. I am you and you are me. But I am far stronger than you are now." Naruto seemed perplexed. How could he be stronger than him when he said they were the same? As he thought of this, HV vanished suddenly and got behind him. "Huh?" was all he could ask before HV vanished again and started flashing around Naruto. "This is what I can do and so much more." He then stopped and pointed his finger in the opposite direction of Naruto, and soon a ball of black energy formed at the tip and fired a black beam away from them. "Now you see the difference of our power. As I said, I am stronger than you currently are." Naruto was amazed and shocked to the core. That kind of power would make an army cower before him. It was terrifying yet amazing. "Wait, how come I don't have that kind of power?" he asked. "You will have this power, but not yet." This confused him, but HV explained further. "You will have it, but not until we unify?" Naruto asked. "Unify? The only way for us to do that is if you defeat me." Naruto was gobsmacked. "How am I supposed to defeat you with that kind of power? That is why you must leave. Get stronger outside, since in here your resources are limited. You can only so much from the scrolls of your family, the library and your academy. The whole world is out there waiting to be explored. You need to become stronger, so he can become one. Naruto understood now. To beat him, he needs power. Power he can't get here, not with limited knowledge. He needs to learn outside, think outside the box and explore things he hasn't tried or experienced. Now I will teach you what I can for you right now. You can't do that Sero yet, but you can use Sonido. Sero? Sonido? Asked a confused Naruto. I'll talk about them in a later date, for now we train. And for hours, he practiced Sonido and now it was time for Naruto to wake up. Naruto. Naruto groggily woke as he was trying to stand up. As he stood he tried to do a Sonido, and to his joy he could do it without any problem. Naruto looked at the clock next to his nightstand and saw that it was 10:30 in the morning. Naruto sighed and started getting dressed. He was wearing a black shirt, a dark blue pair of pants and black shoes. He then made his way to leave through the front door. As he made his way to the front door, not even bothering to look at his family as they ate their food for the morning, when Minato came up to him and stopped him and said to him, "Naruto, I know I haven't been the greatest of fathers, but I do care about you and your well-being, so I want you to have this." He then went into his pocket and pulled out a tri-pronged kunai and gave it to Naruto. Naruto looked at the tri-pronged kunai and then looked over at a family photo, one Kushina replaced with a copy to make sure none would get worried. Everyone was smiling happily except for him. In the background he had a frown on his face and several feet away from them. Naruto then launched the kunai at the photo, aiming for his face in the photo. The kunai hit exactly where he wanted it to hit. The family were stunned by Naruto's action. "Does that explain everything?" he said in a dead tone. Naruto then stormed out of the house, leaving to parents realizing just how much they have messed up. Minato only gaped at what his son had said as tears started to fall down his cheeks. Kushina was crying her eyes over how much pain they had let her son suffer through the years, while Narumi and Naruko tried to think of ways to gain back their brother's trust again, as they wanted to make amends. No matter how long it would take, they would do it no matter what. Naruto was going to a training grounds to clear his mind. He practiced Sonido and tried to do some taijutsu move while doing it. His training had gone well. Mastering Sonido, he was panting heavily and was covered in bruises from several crashes. During the training he had a great idea, thinking it would be best if he learned how to dodge people with it just in case. So he made as many shadow clones as he could, practiced moving around while they tried to catch him. It was a good idea and harder than he thought it would be. The clones kept moving around, forcing him to react quickly, which caused him several times to crash into a tree. Naruto looked up and saw that it was starting to get dark. Naruto allowed his body to relax while he took some deep breaths. When he regained his breath, he looked back to the city of Konoha and said out loud to himself, "Soon it will be over soon. I will be free of them, just 5 more days." Naruto then started walking back to the estate, knowing what he will be in for when he got there. He would leave this place. Back at the Namikaze house, Kushina was being comforted by Tsunade and Minato while she was crying her eyes out. The twins left, going to the Yamanaka flower shop, visiting their friend Ino, but also to clear their head to think better on how to get Naruto back into the family. Minato felt guilty about what he has done, or lack of, and wondered what he could do to show Naruto that he did care for him. Kushina had guilt washing over her completely over what she had let her son go through and wondered what she could have done, crying on Tsunade. Tsunade was also starting to feel guilty because she had also favored the twins over Naruto in training her as well. Hell, she doesn't even remember if she had a gift for him on their birthday. Jiraiya soon entered through the door and saw a crying Kushina being comforted by Tsunade and a tri-pronged kunai through the family picture where Naruto was in it. "What did I miss?" Jiraiya asked. Minato told him about the events starting from last night at dinner to this morning. Jiraiya had a frown on his face and sighed. Guilt coming over him as well for the same reasons as Tsunade. "Well, you aren't the only one, Minato. I haven't exactly been a good godparent myself." "Yeah, do you think that if I teach Naruto the Rasengan he'll forgive me?" "Possibly. I think I'll let him sign the Toad contract as well. Who knows, Minato, I may end up having both of your kids as my apprentices, but I'm sure if he says no, then Tsunade will let him sign the Slug contract." The two men looked at Tsunade to see if she would agree to. She had a smile on her face and nodded, showing that she agreed to it. Kushina smiled, thinking that soon her baby boy will see that he does matter to people here and be back feeling that he belonged with them. Minato went over to Kushina and cupped her cheek, making her look at him, and said to her, "Kushina, I said that I wouldn't give up on Naruto until I brought him back, and I intend to do just that." Kushina smiled, thinking that everything was finally going to start getting better again after this whole ordeal is over. She would do her best to make amends, hopefully having him feeling like he belongs here at the party. 4 days later, Naruto woke up and took a quick look at the clock and saw that it was only 7 in the morning. After he said quick good morning to his 2 friends and senseis, he activated the seal he made on his door to let him know if people entered the room, and quickly got dressed wearing a gray pair of pants with a black shirt and ran down to get a bowl of cereal before his family woke up and tried to reconnect with him. After he finished his bowl of cereal and orange juice, he placed the dirty dishes into the sink. As much as he didn't want to, he had made a note telling them that he went out training. After an hour that Naruto left the house, Naruko and Narumi woke up really happy since today she was going to go visit Satsuki and Naomi. They both went to go the usual morning routine of brushing their teeth. After that they changed while Kushina went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast for the family, and Minato reviewed what he was going to teach Naruto. The twins ran through the halls and appeared in front of Naruto's room. She was scared to open it. They never has been inside Naruto's room before, so they didn't know what was in there. Too scared to go inside, Naruto decided to knock on the door instead, hoping Naruto would answer. "Naruto," Narumi said while knocking on her brother's door. She got no answer, and knocked once again only to have no answer once again. They put her head against the walls to hear any noise but heard nothing. Assuming that he wasn't there, and still scared to go into his room, the twins went to tell their parents. Naruko and Narumi quickly went to the kitchen where both Minato and Kushina are. Kushina, seeing the sad look on the twins' face, asked, "What's wrong?" They looked at her and replied, "Naruto isn't in his room," shocking both Minato and Kushina. "Did you check his room?" asked Minato. "Well, we knocked and got no reply, and I'm scared to go into his room," Narumi replied with a frightful tone. "Why are you scared?" "That's because I've never been into his room before, and I'm scared Naruto will be mad at me." Minato and Kushina were surprised since they too have never been in Naruto's room and wondered what would be in there. Naruto seemed to be in there all the time, so they assumed there was something in there for him to do, but doesn't remember getting him anything that will allow him to stay in his room all day. "How about we all go to Naruto's room then? Would you like that, Kiyomi?" said Kushina, which Kiyomi nodded in reply. The three of them quickly went to Naruto's room and stopped when they are in front of Naruto's room. Slowly Minato opened the door to his room, and when it opened, all three of them were surprised by what his room looked like. His room was the very definition of plain. It didn't look anything at all like a child's room at all. Naruko, Narumi, Minato, and Kushina frowned at how plain his room was. Not a single decoration on the walls. They looked around his room and noticed a bookcase filled with books, mostly advanced. Even Minato would have trouble reading some of the books on the shelves. The books were ranging from romance novels to history books. There were many kinds of different books. "Naruto can read these books?" said a surprised Minato. Kushina and the twins remained silent, amazed at how smart Naruto was. After a minute or so of being surprised, they looked around his room once more. They noticed something on his desk. It was a small stack of paintings and drawings that Naruto did. They looked through each one and were shocked at how much of an artist Naruto was. These paintings he did were almost as good as professional artists. The painting they saw were mostly about nature, but they were very beautiful. There were 3 paintings in particular that caught all their eyes. The first one was a painting of 4 people. 1 yellow-haired man and girl, and 1 red-haired boy, and 2 red-haired women. All 5 of them seemed to be very happy. The 4 of them knew that the painting was about them and Naruto. Minato, who was holding the painting, turned it around for Kushina and the girls to see. They saw Naruto's signature, and when he painted this, it said that he painted this when he was around 6, but something shocked them. What shocked them though was the title of the painting. The title was called Family. After reading it, Kushina and the girls became sad, but quickly let it go. They were going to make it up to him, that's a promise. The next painting was very shocking. It was a painting of both Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama facing each other with their clan insignias over their heads. It was entitled, Inspiration, on it. Why would he paint 2 of the strongest ninjas in the world? The last and scariest painting was on body with 2 faces. One side was Naruto in black clothing and the other half had Naruto's hair only white with a white mask with 4 black triangular stripes going down, and he wore all white. At the back it was entitled, The True Self. It was terrifying to say the least. They didn't understand what the drawing meant, but it showed them as two complete opposites, which confused them. They then turned it around to see if they could find a meaning to the painting or something that could describe what it meant. They then turned back to the desk and saw a journal. It was a dark black leather-bound book. They then opened it to one of the first entries and saw that it was the date they refused to teach Naruto. Mom and Dad refused to teach me today. I don't understand why they get everything, all the training, friends, and presents. I never received anything. Does anyone even know my birthday, or even if I existed? The Namikaze family was saddened by this and flipped the page to the next page. I suddenly hear voices in my head. It counseled me and it understands me. Does that seem familiar to anyone? I don't know why it's there, but it became my friend, my guide, and my support for my sanity and life. I think it wants to help me. They were scared and confused at the entry. What voice was in his mind? What was it telling him? Was this voice friendly or not? All these questions needed to be answered, and they went to more pages for answers. I finally get to see whose voice it came from. I entered my mind, a skill I got from hours of meditation, and I am surprised at what I see. I won't go to details of what he is, but he is incredibly powerful. I mean, he kept flashing around me as fast as Minato's Hiraishin for Kami's sake. His other ability is what really scared me. He shot a black beam that could destroy almost anything in its path. He said he can teach me that flash move, Sonito, but can't teach me that beam attack yet. That caused their eyes to widen in surprise. This thing might not be good for Naruto. But they knew it will only cause more damage if they try to talk him out of it. That was the last entry in the book. When they looked at the date, they saw that it hasn't been updated in a while. They need some information now. They came out of their daze when they heard a knock. They turned around and were surprised to see Naruto standing in the doorway to his room covered with sweat and had an annoyed expression on his face. "Can I help you?" Naruto asked coldly and with a slight tinge of anger in it. Kushina came forward and told him, "Naruto, breakfast is ready. We were coming to get you, but you weren't answering, so we came in to get you." While Kushina was talking to Naruto, Minato activated a seal on his arm storing the journal and several of the paintings inside and decided to bring the information up with Tsunade and Jiraiya, thinking that maybe his sensei had anything about this. "I've already ate. I went out training after I finished my breakfast. Now if there is nothing else you need, then could you please leave? I want to alone right now." Minato stepped forward and told him, "Yeah, but maybe something small then, alright, to help you regain your energy." Naruto stared at them with blank face that many poker players would want to have. After a few moments he sighed and said, "Alright, fine, give me a couple minutes though." They nodded, accepting the answer, and then left the room. After they were gone, he made his way over to his desk to see what they took. After a minute of searching, he saw that they took a couple paintings in his journal. "Damn, doesn't matter, the entries are a bit old and I haven't added any new entries in a while." While that is true, however, they might get suspicious and question you on who I am. They may, but nothing will stop me from leaving. I've come too far to lose now. No matter what happens, no matter who tries to stop me from leaving, I will leave, and no one is going to stop or change that. And I will be there for you every step of the way. Naruto smiled at that last bit. He then got rid of his shirt and got a new one. He took out a sealing scroll for storage and stuffed some ink and other seals for some ideas to make his escape easier in a few days. He then sighed and went down to the dining room to get them to leave him alone for a little bit. When he was done there, he only had a couple pieces of bacon and then headed out, saying he was going out. Before he left, he turned to Minato and sent a small glare his way and said, "And no Anbu, Minato." That caused Minato to flinch. After Naruto left, he sent a signal for a Anbu to come. After a minute, an Anbu wearing a bear mask entered the room and asked, "Lord Hokage, what do you need?" "I need you to get Jiraiya and Tsunade now. Tell them that it's important." The Anbu nodded and left the room, trying to find the two Sannin. After he left, Naruto activated the seal and released the contents and said, "Seal." When the paintings and journal were out, he placed them on the table. Kushina came over to get a better look at the paintings and couldn't help but be amazed by his work. She knew that this was the work of a great painter who had spent years working on paintings. She was happy that her son was a great painter and felt saddened that she had never even bothered to notice. What kind of mother was she? She knew everything that she could about Kyuubi. She knew her strengths, her weaknesses, her friends, her fears, and her friends, and her favorite foods. What could she say that she knew about Naruto? "Oh, I think he likes ramen." She didn't even know his favorite flavor, for God's sake. She was brought out of her thoughts when she felt a hand on her shoulder. She gasped and turned to see Tsunade looking at her with worry. "What's wrong?" Tsunade asked. She gave her Naruto's diary and read through what they read. Tsunade understood now. They were afraid of him forever being away from them. "So what do you need?" Jiraiya asked as he entered the room. "We need to know if you know anything about this." Minato gave him the diary. "I'll try asking the toads about this." Jiraiya vanished via Shunshin to get to work. Naruto was currently resting on a training ground, panting heavily from the exercise he just did. "Naruto, are you ready? You should head back, you got a big day tomorrow." "Tomorrow is your big day after all," VH said. "Yeah, I should." Naruto then stood up and started heading back. Tomorrow was his birthday and escape after all. The less people suspected something from him the better. Namikaze house. "Any luck?" they heard Minato's voice ask, and they turned around and saw Jiraiya with a completely straight face. "I found absolutely nothing." "Nothing? Nothing at all?" Minato said, seeing Jiraiya nod. "The toads have nothing on this. Even the oldest have nothing. The only person who knows what this really is Naruto, but if we ask him it could cause more damage than good," Jiraiya said. "I suggest we wait a bit after we fix things up and then ask him, is that all right?" The two parents nodded and then returned the journal to its rightful place and waited for their children. When the girls entered the room, they had thinking look on her face and said that they had a good time over at Satsuki's house. When Naruto entered the house, he sent a nod their way and said good night to the twins. As he entered his room, the twins then entered theirs after saying good night to them as well. The two parents wondered if maybe things would start to look better soon, maybe after all this is over. "Tomorrow. Mom, Dad, wake up. It's ours and Naruto's birthday," shouted the twins, jumping on their parents' bed, waking them up. Minato and Kushina groaned as they woke up. "Girls, calm down. Why don't you wake Naruto up and we can walk around the village and see the festival preparation, and we will visit the clan heads and your friends," Minato replied. They nodded and ran to Naruto's room, while Minato and Kushina got up and smiled at their daughter's antics. They knocked on the door but turned around when she heard Naruto and told him what their parents told them. Naruto nodded and told them that he would be getting ready. They ran down, leaving Naruto, who went into his room and he quickly changed into his normal gray pants and a dark gray t-shirt. He threw his dirty clothes into his dirty laundry basket. When he was done getting ready, he closed the door behind him, forgetting about the plan he left inside his dirty pants pocket, the one he made last night. He went downstairs and ate breakfast with his family, and they left the house to walk around the village and clan houses. The Namikaze family made it to the Hyuga compound. Minato knocked on the door, and Hisashi, the clan head, answered it to see Minato and Kushina with their children. They could tell that Naruko and Narumi couldn't wait to talk with her friend, and Naruto, who, well, they couldn't tell his emotion. "Hello Minato, nice of you to make it," greeted Hisashi, who is a good friend of Minato. "Yo Hisashi, how's it going?" replied Minato. Minato looked around the house and noticed a certain arrogant clan head missing. "Where's Fugaku?" he asked. "Fugaku said something about not having time for childish things like get-together," replied Hisashi. Minato laughed. "Dude gotta stick up his ass, that's for sure." Hisashi chuckled at his friend attitude. After quick greeting from the rest of the family, Minato and Kushina went to the adults to talk about things. Kushina glanced back at her children and hoped that they were at least starting to get along. The girls looked at Naruto, determination in her eyes. "Naruto, would you like to play with us and our friends?" Naruto looked at them like they were crazy. Didn't what he did yesterday mean anything to them? He wanted to say no until in the corner of his eyes he saw Kushina looking at them, hoping that they get along. Then something came into Naruto's mind and he mentally smirked. "If I pretend to forgive them, then they'll probably get off my back about things, which will make it easier for me to escape. Thinking they have won so they wouldn't need to worry about me that much." He looked at the girl's still determined face and nodded, sure, that would be nice. They quickly dragged Naruto to their friends, which were Ino, Hanabi, and Hinata, since they were the only girl there really, because it was a clan head family get-together. As both twins and Naruto sat down, Ino, Hanabi and Hinata greeted them but were looking at Naruto. Naruto just shrugged it off and greeted both of them, ignoring their looks. After a minute of awkwardness, Ino, Hanabi, Hinata, and the twins talked like little gossip girls. Naruto groaned, closed his eyes and turned his iPod on, Engel Rammstein, and listened as best as he could. Naruto and Narumi saw this and frowned but understood that he didn't understand girl talk, neither do I. While the clan heads was walking with each other and watching their children interact. Minato was currently talking with Hiashi, Shikaku, Choza, and Inoichi, while Kushina was talking with the wives of the clan heads, but really she was paying most of her attention to Naruto. She saw his eyes closed, which she thought that he was sleeping, and it made her frown because he was interacting with anyone. It made her start to think that Naruto doesn't have any friends, and was lonely his whole life, which made her even more sad. Since she was part of the reason why he was lonely, because she played favorites and neglected him over the wins, not listening to her motherly instinct, instead listening to Minato and her ninja self, something she now regretted. After 2 to 3 hours it was noon, and time for the Namikaze family had to leave so that they could prepare for the party and to see the festival preparation. During the clan visit, after Naruto and Narumi finished their girl talk with Ino, Hanabi, and Hinata, they tried to get to know Naruto better by asking him questions, which he gave them answers and they started to talk. He pretended to enjoy being around his family. During the walk in the village, everyone greeted the Hokage and his family. During the walk, Kushina and Minato noticed that Naruto was talking with Naruto and Narumi. It seems he forgives us, both Kushina and Minato thought, as they continue walking. After an hour, Minato decided that it was time to go home, so that they could prepare for the birthday party. When they reached inside the Namikaze home, Kushina looked at her kids and said, "Why don't you three clean up and change for the party?" Naruto and the twins both nodded and went to their rooms. Kushina went to change and cook for the party, while Minato got the decoration ready. Luckily he put some seals around the house that were used for the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, which made it quicker for him to decorate. Hours later, time 6 p.m. It was 6 p.m. Time for the party to begin. The Namikaze house was filled with friends, children, and adults. There were the clan heads and their family, the third Hokage's family, Naruto and the twins' godparents Jiraiya and Tsunade. There was also some Jonin shinobis who were close friend to Minato and Kushina, one of which was Kakashi, Kurenai, and Yugo, who was once a student to Minato and Kushina. The twins were currently talking with her friends, which were Ino, Hinata, Sakura, Hanabi, and some girls in her class. There were also some guys that hanged with her like Shikamaru, Kiba, Koji, and Shino. The twins though was not engaged into the conversation, instead they were trying to find Naruto. Earlier when they finished helping their dad with the decoration, they waited for her brother to finish his nap. She waited for a while, but then the guests started coming and quickly their friends assaulted them. Naruto himself was standing in the corner away from the crowd where no one can see him. He was currently observing the party, watching everyone and how the party was progressing, so that he would know the right time to escape. About an hour has passed and he finished eating dinner, and still observed the party as it progressed. He smirked when they started to take out the alcohol. Now all I have to do is wait till they're all drunk. He thought to himself. 30 minutes later most of the adults were drunk, one including Minato, though he wasn't as drunk as the others. Naruto knew it was time for him to leave. He got up to go to his room, but someone bumped into him. It was Kushina. "Naruto, where are you going?" she asked. "I am going to sleep. I'm very tired," he said, faking a yawn. Kushina wanted him to stay and enjoy the party, but he was tired, so she let him go. In his room he got his things ready and checked if he had everything he needed. In his backpack he had a few things in his backpack holding his possessions. He also brought kunais and shuriken for practice. Extra clothes consisting of 2 shirts, 1 gray 1 black combat pants, and undergarments. He packed his things and put on his backpack, put on his shoes, opened the window and looked at his room once more before he would leave. Looking over at his table he saw a stack of his artwork. He saw 2 paintings, the ones that his family was looking at earlier in the day. He picked one of the pictures up and put it in one of his scroll. After he pulled out a kunai, sliced the other picture making it break, and jumped out of the window when he finished. He was lucky the gate was opened for incoming people that might be late to the party. He sneaked past a couple of drunken people and exited the gate. In the village Naruto could see many people still celebrating. Children playing the games in the festival, while the mothers watch over them or talking to their friend. The men were mostly drunk from the many alcohol drinks that they drank. Naruto went through the festival, making sure no one saw him. He hated the fact that the house was on the opposite side of the village from the main gate. So it was going to take him forever to reach the main gate, since the other gates were closed for the ceremony to make sure that if there was an attack they would have to come through the main gate. It already took him an hour to get the festival and only the beginning. It took him forever because he had to take long routes and make sure no one spotted him, not even the ANBUs. He sighed thinking about how much more distance he has left, and the many people he would have to hide from in the festival. He inwardly groaned, this was going to take forever. Later on, the time was 9, about an hour since Naruto left. The party doesn't seem to be getting smaller or tiring down, if anything it seems to be getting wilder. There were karaoke coming from the living room, with many more drunken adults singing. The children were running around the house. Minato, who was slightly drunk since he didn't drink much, quieted everyone down. Now then it is time for Naruto and Narumi to open their presents, said Minato when everyone quieted down and was listening to Minato. Naruto and Narumi, who heard what their father said, smiled in happiness. For a while now they have been sad because they haven't found Naruto. But the mention of present brought her out of her sad thoughts. The only thing in her mind at the moment was their presence. First off was Jiraiya, who walked up to them with a giant scroll. Many people were wide-eyed knowing what the scroll was. Tsunade though was fuming when she saw the scroll. She wanted to give them the summoning contract to the slug, but apparently Jiraiya beat her to it. "Girls, I want to give you the toad summoning contract," Jiraiya said. Their eyes widened. They knew what the toad summoning from what their father told them, and also wanted to summon toads like their father. They started to jump in glee. Jiraiya chuckled while everyone laughed. "Now sign here with your blood," Jiraiya said, pointing to the blank space next to Minato's name. They bit their thumbs so blood could come out, then they wrote their names the best they could. After it was done, Jiraiya closed the scroll and Minato came up to them telling them that they will have extra training so that they could summon the toads. After they opened all the presents, which consist of clothes, toys, and things from her friends and clan heads, their mother though got her a wooden katana and said that she will be teaching her in the family kenjutsu style, which got them happy. Minato gave her some of his special kunais and said he will start preparing her for the more advanced stuff of his training. Minato was a little worried because he hasn't seen Naruto during the party and hoped that he was fine. "Don't worry about Naruto. He went to his room to sleep," said Kushina. Naruto and Narumi frowned. Their plan was ruined, but they didn't want to bother Naruto either. They sighed and went back to their friends. When Kushina saw everyone going back to party, she slipped away from the party to go check on Naruto. She was surprised to say the least when she saw his room's light was on and decided to enter the room. She opened the door quietly and looked around the room. The only light was from the moon. She found the light switch and quickly switched it so the light would turn on. She looked around the now lit room and was shocked to not see Naruto frown. She thought that he probably went to the restroom or something, so she waited. Might as well wait for Naruto while he was awake to tell him good night. While waiting, Kushina looked around his room and saw the basket holding Naruto's dirty laundry. When she looked inside, she saw a piece of paper slightly hanging out of one of Naruto's pant pocket. Curious, she pulled the paper out and read it. She gasped and then quickly ran out of the room and back to the party, looking for Minato. She quickly found Minato, who was in a group talking with some of the clan heads. She quickly ran to them. Minato saw Kushina coming up into the group slightly panting with fear, and worry written all over her face. "What's wrong, Kushina?" asked Minato. "It's Naruto," she replied, who didn't get to finish when Minato interrupted her. "What about Naruto?" Minato interrupted. "Naruto is leaving the village." She shouted loudly that the whole party heard and stopped what they were doing to look at Kushina. Minato was shocked to hear this. "What do you mean he's leaving the village?" Minato asked rather loudly. "I went up to his room to check up on him but he wasn't there, but I found this note on his desk," Kushina said, handing the note to them. Minato quickly took it and read what it said. His eyes widened when he finished. Kushina broke down crying. "He didn't forgive us," she said while sobbing. Minato himself felt even worse. He re-looked over the plan and noticed that there might be a chance to get his son back. "Dad, is Naruto really gone?" Naruto asked wearily. Minato looked at his daughters. He looked into their eyes and saw fear. Fear that what they heard was true. Minato didn't want to answer, so he turned away. Naruto and Narumi saw what her father did and somewhat understood what it meant and broke down crying. Minato himself felt even worse. "Anbu!" shouted Minato. Then some Anbu appeared in front of Minato kneeling. "What is it, Lord Hokage?" said an Anbu wearing a bear mask. "Find my son Naruto, and make sure he doesn't reach the main gate." "Why, Lord Hokage?" "Because Naruto is planning on leaving Konoha, and I will not lose my son," shouted Minato, getting angry that the Anbu has not left yet. The Anbu quickly left, doing what they are told. Minato himself was preparing to leave when he was stopped by a couple of Jonin, Jiraiya, Kakashi, the clan heads excluding Fugaku. Minutes later everyone was ready including Kushina. Minato looked shocked to see Kushina. "What are you doing, Kushina?" asked Minato. "Helping to look for Naruto, what else?" she replied, getting annoyed of why they haven't left yet, and Minato questioning something like this. "No, you can't, you have to stay and watch the children." "Don't worry, I will bring Naruto back." With that Minato left, leaving an angry Kushina before she could say anything. Makoto and Himiko, who were there, went up to her longtime friend. "Go find Naruto, we'll stay and watch the kids," Makoto told Kushina. "Thank you, Makoto." Himiko, Kushina replied, and started to leave. "Bring your son back. We might even continue the party," Himiko shouted so Kushina could hear. "I will," replied Kushina. With that she disappeared via Shunshin. Later on, Naruto finally got outside of Konoha, though it took forever. He easily got past the guards at the gate since they were knocked out from drinking too much. He signed to himself. It took him forever to get here after dodging people and making sure not to be spotted. He was lucky the festival pretty much reached all the way to the main gate. "Finally out of that god-forsaken village," said Naruto with relief and rare happiness. "Still, you shouldn't relax yet, you're still in Konoha territory," HV told Naruto, sounding slightly tired. He was right. Even though he was right outside of Konoha, it didn't mean he should relax since he was still in Konoha territory. He inwardly nodded to HV, but noticed that when he talked he sounded a little emotional, which was odd. He wanted to ask him what was wrong but felt chakra signals that brought him out of his current thought. He cursed to himself when he sensed that they were all Jonin to Anbu level shinobi. Quickly he hid himself behind a tree and tried his best to conceal his chakra, hoping no one would sense him. After waiting for a while he saw a few Jonin pass by him. When there was no one left he got out of his hiding spot and began running again, only to stop when he noticed about 3 people waiting for him. He cursed to himself since he knew now that his plan was going to fail. In front of him stood Kakashi, Jiraiya, and Hitomi. Naruto stopped a few yards away from them, staring at them with impassive eyes that hid a great fear, since they were some of the strongest in the village. "Naruto, you need to come home," Jiraiya said. Naruto glared at Jiraiya and Kakashi, 2 people he didn't really care for, since they both were somehow related to his father. One being his teacher while the other being his student. But both were strong, something he respected that about them. A little bit because they forgot about him as well. "Why would I do that?" Naruto said in a cold, dead voice that scared them somewhat since it was coming from a child. "That's because your father, mother and sister want you back home. Sensei, Kushina, Naruko and Narumi want you home so you all can be a family again," said Kakashi, jumping into the conversation hoping to change Naruto's mind about leaving. He frowned when Naruto's face didn't lighten up. Naruto now glared at Kakashi and replied, "Since when have I been considered family? I was never considered family to them. I was neglected and ignored for what? Only because Naruko and Narumi contains the Kyuubi, making Hitomi, Kakashi, and Jiraiya to flinch." Naruto, seeing Hitomi, Jiraiya, and Kakashi flinched, tried to run but stopped when he saw them also move. Naruto examined them and noticed that Jiraiya and Kakashi stood in front while Hitomi stood a few yards back. Seconds later Naruto felt more chakra signal. He mentally cursed to himself. He didn't want his plan to fail. All that planning for what? Only to fail. No, he will not allow that. He had to think of something, anything quickly. "Naruto, don't hide your true power anymore. Are you sure?" "Yes. My father? My mother? My sisters?" Naruto questioned as he moved his hand to the seal on his arm, thinking that now is the time to show them what he can do. He deactivated the seal and suddenly felt heavy all of a sudden. Jiraiya looked at the sea and wondered where he learned it. After a couple seconds of examining the seal he realized that it was a gravity and chakra seals. The chakra seal were stranger because it wasn't the same design as an Uzumaki origin. "Oh, so you noticed the seal's capabilities, EH? Well, this is not an ordinary chakra seal. This one consumes my chakra like a leech, allowing me to limit my chakra pool, and when I release it all my chakra back to me, giving me my fullest capabilities, inspired by Zaraki Kenpachi. And now the gravity seals are gone. I can move even faster, he explained, shocking everyone. Take this. Earth release. Hell's ascend. He went to a series of hand seal and slammed his right hand down, and soon spikes of earth shot up randomly, forcing the three to jump out of the way, giving him an opportunity to run. So ran he did, as he was fast as a Junin. As Naruto continued running, a red blur passed by him and stopped a few feet in front of him, making him stop. Naruto now saw who was in front of him, glared at the person. For the person in front of him was his mother, Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. She wore her battle gear, but without her katana since she had to rush. How Kushina found Naruto was rather difficult. When she started looking, she thought that he was probably in the forest of Hai no Kuni, Fire Country, already, so she dashed her way to the forest. When she got there she started looking but noticed Itachi. She asked him if he had found, which he answered no, and they went their separate ways. It was only luck that she found him, because of footsteps she heard like someone was running. She followed the sound and shortly after she found her son. Naruto, why are you leaving? Is it because of us? If so then we will make it up to you, Kushina asked Naruto sadly, hoping to change Naruto's mind about leaving. Please, you had your chance years ago. I've even tried to become a family, yet all of you pushed me away for what? Because the two has Kyuubi powers, said Naruto in his voided voice. He wasn't done yet, he was by far from done. Since he was leaving anyways, might as well tell her everything, not like she care anyways. I've always tried to do anything to become a family, but every time, you ignore me, always choosing them over me. I stopped trying because I know what will happen, he continued, making Kushina sadder than before. But that doesn't mean you should leave. We can make it up to you, responded Kushina. Like I said, you lost your chances about 2 years ago. You neglected and ignored me over the twins. Now it ends. But she had to be trained to control the Kyuubi's power, also Minato said so, and he knows what is best. Naruto replied with cold facts. So what? That doesn't mean you have to neglect me. You could have always gave me books on chakra or maybe the basics, anything. But no, you just pushed me away like I'm some kind of fly. I decided to become strong on my own, but I can't go beyond if I stay here. Living a life of loneliness is not how I want to spend my life. Kushina's eyes widened in surprise, and then Naruto threw down a smoke bomb and made several shadow clones. After the shadow clones, he immediately used Sonito to get out of the smoke and gain some distance. Kushina made several clones to chase after them, followed one herself. After that encounter, Naruto made his way to the border, simply waiting for them to come. After a while he saw Minato, Kushina, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Hitomi, and Kakashi appeared a couple feet in front of him. Naruto couldn't help it but smirk. This caused all the people to look at him with confusion until he pointed down. They looked down and they all saw that they were on top of a large seal for containing them. The seal activated, causing a dome to appear around them and also taking their chakra away from them at the same time. Minato however managed to avoid it, and quickly throwing tri-pronged kunai he vanished in a yellow flash heading straight for Naruto. Only for Naruto to vanish as well and hit him in the face and throw a seal on him to paralyze him. Everyone was surprised to say the least and thought, when and how did he learn the Flying Thunder God Jutsu? If you're wondering, that was not the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, that was a technique called Sonito. This technique beats your jutsu because it is not limited by a kunai and is more versatile. Naruto said in a monotone voice. Naruto, please stop, we can make it up to you, Minato said, trying to convince him to change his mind. I'm afraid, Minato Namikaze, that he is dead set on doing this. A dead voice said. It came from Naruto, but it wasn't his voice. It is time for me to reveal myself. Naruto was starting to shake. His skin and hair started to become pale white. His clothes were morphing and changing color from black to white. He closed his eyes and soon, bony fragments started to form in his face, creating a mask. The same mask they saw in his painting. At last I finally get to see the people who helped in my creation, HV said, now fully out and shocking everyone. If you are wondering, Naruto let me out. I'm sure you read the diary and saw me in his painting? HV mocked them. Kushina, Minato, Jiraiya, and Tsunade were able to finally put the dots together. You're the voice that Naruto hears, Minato said. Indeed, you are correct. Due to you negligence, I was there taking good care of him. You're nothing but a bad influence to him. You're the reason he's leaving. Kushina shouted at HV. You are badly mistaken. I never make his decisions, he does. I only help when in need of advice and it's up to him if he follows or not. I would never put him in any danger since if he dies so shall I. You're lying. Why would you help him? Minato shouted. Because I am Naruto. Shock quickly went in for all of them. Me and Naruto are two sides of the same coin. When he gets stronger so will I, that's why we are leaving, to become stronger. He was inspired by two of the strongest ninjas to have ever lived in this world, Hashirama and Madara. Soon another memory of Naruto's painting of the two individuals flashed in their minds. With that I bid you all a farewell. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze is dead and never coming back. HV used Sonito to get away as soon as he felt more chakra signatures coming, ignoring the pleas for him to come back. True to his word, Naruto is dead, and a new being has come to life.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.